And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Man, if you got the day off, I am jealous, but it is gorgeous outside. We are ready for a fantastic weekend of sports in the Flower City, and you found Rochester's only local sports talk show. The Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia. We are here at 95.7 FM, AM 950. You can stream us in the free-to-download Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, or watch the Sports Bar on our video stream, YouTube channel, The Fan Rochester, Twitch, The Fan Rochester. Like and subscribe while you're there. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
Yeah, it feels... Boy, first morning you wake up like, ooh, this feels a little football-ish. Not that I'm complaining.
First morning you wake up in a while, it's like, oh, that's what a good night's sleep feels like. Where it's not muggy outside, and you can even crack the window open if you wanted to turn off the air and give your RG&E account a little bit of a break. Yeah, nice night last night. Elite day today, sunny and 75. And yeah, there's a little bit of a feel in the air when we get to this time of year. This is the last weekend for the next 6 months that we won't have Buffalo Bills football in our life.
That is wonderful. You know, last time you and I did a show together in studio on a Friday.
Don't say May.
Pretty close. It was the weekend before you left for Europe.
Beginning of June.
Yeah. Right after Memorial Day.
There we are, 6 weeks later. But we got a good show lined up for you today. And some of our favorites stopping by to share their thoughts on the Buffalo Bills this afternoon, including the one and only Bruce Nolan of the Bruce Exclusive Podcast, stopping by at 425.
He brings a different angle. He's a lot of fun. We will have a fun Bills conversation. I remember our last conversation with him talking about how the news cycle, we're on to the next thing. Like, this is a big deal, but in the cycle of the NFL, it's like, wait, what were we talking about a month ago? Really? We thought that was a big deal, and we just move on that
quick. It moves on very fast.
So, like, in that spirit, I think we have a story that from yesterday to today, oh, my gosh, these second-round picks, clutching pearls. What are the Bills going to do on the defensive line? Oh, no. Log jam broke. TJ Sanders under contract. He'll be there, so we're on to the next thing.
Yeah, once again, let's blame Cleveland for this. I mean, giving the fully guaranteed second-rounder a contract set an unrealistic precedent for the rest of the NFL. And it forced all of these second-rounders to hold out and not sign and not sign. And TJ Sanders now, in signing with Buffalo, gets 95% of his total deal guaranteed. Not 100% guaranteed, but 95% of his deal is guaranteed. That's what this was all about for these second-rounders.
Good for them.
Thank you, Cleveland.
Good for them. Cleveland, again, you're never going to get anything, right? Like, in terms of a good schedule or anything like that, other owners aren't going to do you any favors. So we'll talk to Bruce Nolan, Bruce Exclusive Podcast, 4 o'clock hour.
And Ty Dunn, the founder of GoLongTD.com, will be stopping by later this hour. Give us like 20, 25 minutes or so with Ty. We're going to talk about a recent piece he published at GoLongTD on Bills tight end looking for redemption in year 3. That would be Dalton Kincaid.
Do we fault him for not coming up with that ball on 4th down? I mean, on the replay, it's like, oh, it went right through his hands, and he's fully outstretched, and it's such an awkward angle and everything else. It's funny. I of all the things, I think that was on Allen, not recognizing, hey, the blitz is coming here. You have a guy wide open on the left side. It was almost a miracle play, but if you look at the bigger picture, though, year 3 for Dalton Kincaid is pretty big here coming up. Yeah.
It's the thing that every player wants in their career. Game on the line, get me the ball. Put the ball in my hands. Put me in a position to make a play. And I imagine that the idea that even though it would have been a tough catch, that he let it slip through his hands, it was close. And he's probably been grappling with that all offseason. I imagine he's also been getting bigger this offseason to try and avoid some of the injuries that might have slowed him down last year. We'll get inside the mind of Dalton Kincaid, courtesy of Ty Dunn, who spoke with him for a recent piece at golongtd.com. He'll be stopping by the Sports Bar at 325. You're welcome to join us here on The Fan any point this afternoon. Our phone lines are open for you at 866-4326. 585-866-4FAN.
And we will be at training camp, by the way, Wednesday. Players report in full, veterans on Tuesday. So beginning Wednesday, the first of 9 training camp live shows, Bills Camp Live here in the Sports Bar.
It's almost like they listen to the Sports Bar
9 times.
They know the magic number. We will be there for 9 separate afternoons, 9 separate days, 9 separate shows at Buffalo Bills training camp starting Wednesday.
Fantastic. Cannot wait.
All right. Shall we just dive into the developments of the last 24 hours? Because I think it was last week around this time that we were starting to hear about the kind of conflicts of interests that were present in the NFLPA's executive director, Lloyd Howell's portfolio. He had a side hustle working for, an investment group that was trying to purchase portions of NFL teams. Yeah, kind of a no-no when you're representing the players, not necessarily the teams. But what ESPN has obtained and shared with us this afternoon, mere hours after Howell stepped down from his role as the executive director of the NFLPA, well, this is just a chef's kiss, Gino.
Well, is it, hey, he's resigning because of the conflict of interest? Or could it be something just a little more salacious?
I mean,
Maybe.
An outside investigator that was hired by the union received documents this week showing that Howell charged the union for 2 separate visits to strip clubs, including a $738.82 car service that took him from the airport to one of the clubs. That would be Tootsie's Cabaret. Howell picked up by the car service at Fort Lauderdale International Thursday, November 2nd, 2023 at 10:26 p.m. The car's first stop was Tootsie's, and the driver was hired to wait 7 hours outside.
What the hell?
Hey, everybody! Welcome to Tootsie's Cabaret. It looks like we have a special guest in the champagne room this afternoon. It's Lloyd Howell stopping by this evening. Lloyd Howell. I'm sorry, not Lloyd Howell. Jimmy Howell. It's Jimmy Howell, Lloyd's twin brother in the champagne room. Don't tell the union. Don't tell the union. We got a long night ahead of us, including 7 hours with Cinnamon on stage 3. Cinnamon, stage 3.
Look, if he wants to do that in his off time, that's fine. He can be a private citizen and enjoy things on his own time. Little footnote here on Tootsie's Cabaret, Danger. 76,000 square feet. They claim that they are the world's largest strip club, full nude, #1 rated. Because, you're going to go out,
now,
big. Huh?
I have to fill out expense reports when I travel like I did earlier this week. You fill out the expense reports and you have to provide receipts and you have to provide explanations. You got to talk about who you're going to dinner with, who you're expensing these meals with. Was there any of that accountability? I mean, this is the players' union. This is the NFL freaking PA. I have to imagine there's some accountability here.
Well, if you think there is, probably not, Danger. During this year's summit in February, Howell and 2 union employees, my gosh, here's this place again, Magic City in Atlanta.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Magic City, home of the Diamond Wings. Who? Oh, check that out. We've got Jimmy Howell. Jimmy Howell, frequent guest to the Diamonds. Jade, stage 4.
The union got charged on their expense report $2,426, including cash withdrawals ranging from $200 to $525. Why would you need cash withdrawals?
What, at a place like that? You would?
Yeah, they used 2 VIP rooms. Here's the funny part of the story. If you didn't think that was, how did they get around this on the expense report, Danger? Player engagement event to support and grow our union. Literally, that's player engagement.
Yes. Well, at least they're being honest. Yes. How many players were with the union executive director at Magic City that night? My God. Never change, NFL. Never change.
Look, I'm not going to. Have you ever cheated on an expense report? I have. Not with Odyssey, but we've all done it, right? You're like, hey, these. Can you write these up as appetizers? Because, like you don't want to have like alcohol going on an expense report, but not like this. Come on.
Yeah, this isn't a great look. I don't know what Lloyd Howell's marital status is or what, his personal life looks like, but I imagine this getting unearthed is probably a little inconvenient. You probably don't want this on your record. You are the head of the NFLPA. Now, yes, do the NFL players like themselves some Magic City? Yeah, they probably do. They probably enjoy it quite often.
Now, just fictional here.
Yeah.
Fictional. Suppose this. Like, because the NFL and NFLPA, they should be at opposite ends. But if you're the NFL, you want intel. Like, if you're following around Lloyd Howell, just saying in theory, that'd be like perfect blackmail, right? Taking pictures of him walking into a club or whatever in the expense report or whatever it would be.
Growing the union? What was it? Growing the union? Player
engagement.
Player engagement. Yes. Of course.
Something was engaged.
Yeah, you're damn right something was engaged, pal. It was I mean his union was probably engaged, if you know what I'm saying. So that'll be it for Lloyd Howell. No word on who's going to be the interim executive director who will end up getting the permanent gig, but I would say a pretty tumultuous couple of years running the NFL's union for Howell.
So in this story by ESPN, they go to a union expert who once ran a union, the United Mine Workers of America. The quote is, "That's pretty horrible. It's unbelievable. I don't know how you get around that. It's hard to believe that anyone would be that stupid."
I'm baffled. Not baffled at the idea that Lloyd Howell would go to a strip club. Baffled at the idea that he would expense it and think, oh, yeah, this is good. No problem.
Like $750, 7 hours. You wait here.
7 hours.
Wait here.
That's almost a full work day. He was putting in work. He was putting in almost a full day's worth of work at Tootsie's Cabaret. Well done, man. Well done. I can't hang. Not like that. No, thank you. God bless you. So, yeah, incredibly stupid.
Tootsie's Cabaret, Magic City. We're going to have like our power rankings here in the sports bar.
Mm-hmm. So that's the state of the players' union. I'm sure that they wish they were in a little bit of a better standing right now with their leadership. There was another thing that crossed my feed from the NFL, Gino, and I saw this, and I thought we have to bring it up during the show because this might be the Super Bowl of hot uniform matchups this upcoming season. This might be the one you want to circle on the calendar.
Not the Super Bowl. Nothing will ever get better than this. Like, name me something that would be hotter than this.
More appealing to the eye on a football field. I'll listen. But I don't think you're going to top Week 5, the hot uniform Super Bowl of 2025, as both the Seattle Seahawks and Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to wear their throwbacks from the 80s.
Wow. These two franchises have a history together. They came in. They were the expansion partners back in the 70s. And in the first year, actually, Tampa Bay was in the AFC. Now, why they decided in year 2, let's switch, I don't know. Somebody would have to fill in on that. But to have Buccaneer Bruce and then the Seahawks go back to the royal blue and the gray, dude.
Pretty good look.
Well, when are the Bills playing that week? So I'll make sure I'm like.
That's Week 5. So they are, is Week 5 the Saints?
That's Week 4.
Then Week 5, is that the Falcons, the Monday night game at the Falcons? Okay.
So we're good, yeah.
Falcons are going to be wearing their throwback get-ups, too, with the red helmets. A little nervous about that one, Gino. Look good, play good. Falcons might play better with the red helmets. Just going to throw that out there. Don't know what the Falcons are. Could be a tough one on Monday night for the Bills. We'll talk more schedule. We'll talk more Bills with Ty Dunn, who joins us later. And also, this is something to think about. We'll discuss this a little after 4 o'clock this afternoon in the sports bar as we prepare for Buffalo Bills training camp. 5 veteran players that could find themselves as camp casualties as they head into week 1. I have one that I know will be extremely unpopular, and there's really only one way that they would be able to get out from it. I'll explain.
Okay. Now, where is the line? Because Tyrell Shavers will be a camp casualty. He will end up on the practice squad. We're not talking about that. We're talking about bigger names, correct?
Yes.
Although, when I look in the dictionary and under consistency, there's a picture of Tyrell Shavers sitting right there, just like Sean McDermott.
Wow, you're already in mid-camp form, Gino.
Listen, I'm ready. They're here. I'm ready.
We got our credentials today.
We did.
Tim went and picked them up for us, our commissioner. He went and picked up our credentials. We're ready for Wednesday.
I swear I think he went out to Buffalo just to kind of, I got to go to Buffalo. What's in Buffalo? I got to go. And he drove all the way out to Buffalo.
Just to get the credentials?
Just to get the credentials. Like, all right.
Good excuse.
Yeah.
Be the guy. Hand out the credentials on Monday, Tim. Looking forward to it.
Oh, look here. Scotty Scheffler tied for the lead.
Oh.
9 under. He's through 16. Matt Fitzpatrick is your leader. Fitzpatrick with a 66 today. 9 under for today. So, in front of the tournament, 5 under today.
Scheffler winning the Open would be boring.
What?
I don't know why. There was a little bit of emotion from him earlier this year, and I'm like, okay, that was fun, but it's not the same. It's dominance, but it's not the same kind of dominance that we saw with Tiger. I don't know. I'm still, for as good as he is, I still can't get excited about Scotty Scheffler.
I think, and I retweeted this out, his answer from earlier in the week, and it's a long answer. Maybe if we have time, we can kind of
talking about winning.
Yeah, how when you win the Masters, it's great, the euphoria, the great 2 minutes, right? And then
you're back at it.
You're back at it.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, okay. And I think when we talked to Brian Koziel on Monday, I mean, we saw that a little with Rory. Hey, I accomplished this, and then okay, where do we go next? And we had kind of a letdown. So, I mean, golf is. All sports, you got to be mentally tough. But just to hear Scheffler kind of put it that way, like the highs are there, but they are fleeting.
No, you hear about that from guys that have won consistently, whether you're talking about MJ or Kobe. I mean, these guys are just wired differently to the point where you don't really enjoy the win because you're just ready for the next win. You're on to the next one that quickly.
Yeah, the losses stick with you way more than whatever the win is. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't sound like a good way to live, certainly, but it was an honest answer that Scheffler put out, and they haven't. By the way, he just birdied 17, so now he is in the he's in the lead by himself. One more hole to play.
Okay, so Scotty Scheffler will be a name we're paying attention to this weekend at the Open overseas, and I'm sure that the golf world is just fine with that. He is the name right now that we're all paying attention to, and Rory. Kind of falling off here? Is still not playing up to the level we saw earlier at Augusta? I mean, that does kind of tell you how each of these guys is made up if you want to compare the two.
Well, today, Rory 3 under for the tournament, 2 under today. Okay. So, I mean, he's 7 shots off is not bad. I mean, finished top 10 possibly. Okay. So.
All right, so we'll pay attention to what happens here with Scotty Scheffler the rest of his round as we head into the final 2 rounds this weekend. Of the Open, and Scotty Scheffler, the favorite to win going in, taking a little bit of a lead here in round 2. The Buffalo Bills open up training camp at St. John Fisher Wednesday morning. We will be there live. Looking forward to sharing all of the sights and sounds, the news, the players, the coaches, everything we absorb, everybody we talk to, sharing it all with you starting Wednesday. And in preparation for Bills season, in preparation for training camp, we want to talk to the best and brightest out there covering the team, their ear to the ground, their ear inside the locker room. Guys like Ty Dunn, golongtd.com. And Ty had the chance recently to speak to Dalton Kincaid for a piece at Go Long TD. How has the tight end managed through this offseason, knowing that the lasting image we have, the loss of the AFC Championship game last season, was a potential game-winning catch slipping through his fingers?
I mean, funny, when I brought up, kind of the did he bulk up enough? Like Dalton Kincaid last year, we kind of view what was he in the condition that they needed him to be in. He came back from that knee injury, just kind of wasn't the same. So curious to kind of get that. And by the way, go long TD. You can go check out Ty's article right now.
All right, so let's get Ty on with us next. Don't forget Bruce Nolan, the Bruce Exclusive, joining us in the 4 o'clock hour as well. Lots of Buffalo Bills chatter this afternoon in the sports bars. We get ready for Bills training camp getting underway Wednesday afternoon from St. John Fisher University. 866-4326 is our number. If you want to join us, pull up a stool. 585-866-4FAN.
You're listening. Play 95.7 The Fan and watch it become your personal sports commentator. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Scotty Scheffler is in the lead at the Open, 10 under for the tournament. He's on 18 right now. The Buffalo Bills signed their second-round pick, defensive lineman T.J. Sanders. Chris Brown on One Bills Live with more details.
T.J. Sanders got the deal done with the Bills, 4-year deal, $10.645 million according to reports, and about $10 million of that is guaranteed, which is very similar to the level of guarantees that Keon Coleman got as the top pick in the second round last year.
Ty Dung from Go Long joins us next year in the Sports Bar. Second half of the baseball season is underway. Just one game in progress. The Cubs at Wrigley leading the Red Sox 3-1. They're in the middle of the fourth. Rochester Red Wings tonight opening up the second half at Lehigh Valley. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Always a treat when we could check in with the founder of GoLongTD.com, Ty Dunn, joining us in the Sports Bar. And want to talk about your recent conversation with Dalton Kincaid. Ty, you've had the opportunity through your book to be able to talk to elite tight ends through generations, and I'm curious as to how Dalton stacks up. But more than anything, what was your takeaway from talking to him and how he's dealt with this offseason, the criticisms at the end of the season, of course, the lasting image from the AFC Championship game and everything else that went with it?
Yes, sir, and always fun to pop on. Thanks so much for having me back. You know, I think I was thinking what everybody was. You know, this is a moment for a 25-year-old in professional football. The world's watching, right? I mean, I don't know what that final count was, but it felt like everybody was watching that 4th and 5. Not an easy play to make, right? He's running toward the sideline, has to hit the brakes, do a 180, dive. I get it. But it hit his hands, and he's a first-round pick, and he'd be the first to say he should have caught it. So I had no idea. Like, is this a topic that we have to kind of wade into carefully, like tiptoe into, because you don't want to bring it up? And part of me thought he treated that footage like, you know, the videotape in The Ring. Like, yeah, I'm not going to watch that thing. I'm going to die in 7 days. Like, bury it forever. And he owned it in the moment. You know, in that locker room, he pointed to this as really that turning point is, you know, he's in tears. He's emotional. Teammates are consoling him. Coaches are consoling him. And Micah Hyde, 34-year-old vet, just on the practice squad that last month of the season, Bills just wanted him around. He comes up to Dalton Kincaid and said some words I can't say on the radio, like effing own it. Mm-hmm. Wipe those tears away and own it. Talk to the media. You know, you got to look in the mirror in so many words. And that's exactly what Dalton Kincaid did. And he was able to board that flight back to Buffalo, watch the film, meet with McDermott, meet with Bean, and basically live at One Bills Drive for the ensuing 5 months, other than a few trips. He was living there to get stronger and attack year 3. So, yeah, like a lot of his tight end forefathers, I think he faced a really hard moment early in his career and responded to it the right way. And he'd be the first to say he owes it to Micah Hyde.
Yeah, so Ty, you literally wrote the book on tight end and tight end development. I mean, we're used to positions where at running back where you can show up and make plays, or even the quarterback position we saw it last year in Washington. How long are we expecting too much here in year 1 and year 2 here? Like, what should be a good timeline here in terms of the development of a tight end? And are we late on this on Dalton Kincaid?
That's a great question, because I think all of it is a byproduct of the times, right? Like, you know, social media didn't exist when, Mike Ditka is creating the position, or Kellen Winslow is at the Orange Bowl, or, Ben Coates is running over people in the 90s, or even Jeremy Shockey is taking the NFL by storm. Like, so we expect results now, especially with a team contending for Super Bowls year in and year out. If you go back to that draft, I think if Brandon Beane were to take some truth serum on him, he'd say, look, these receivers were going fast. I'm trying to remember who it was, like Jackson Smith and Jigla, Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, and they wanted a weapon, so they move up and they get the best receiving weapon at tight end. But if you really go through history, it does take tight ends a year or 2 or 3 to really hit their stride. And I think the best comp, and this is one the Bills would certainly take. I mean, we'll see what happens. But look at Tony Gonzalez's career. You know, he was the best tight end of his era. For my money, the second best ever to Gronk, changed the position forever. He led the NFL in drops in year 2, 16. He was depressed. I mean, he was in a worse place mentally than Dalton Kincaid could ever dream of, locking himself in his bedroom, just drinking alcohol, jacking cokes until he numbed himself. He was in a bad spot, and it wasn't until he had his own man-in-the-mirror moment and owned up to it and said, hey, I know I think I'm doing everything I got to do, listening to the coaches. I've got to do more. I've got to show up to practice early, catch 100 balls a day. He started doing that year 3, and I think he made the Pro Bowl in like 14 of his next 15 seasons. That was a routine that stuck with him, just mentally kind of made that shift. And you go through history, all of the greatest tight ends ever kind of have that moment. Now, is Dalton Kincaid going to be Tony Gonzalez? I have no idea. But he has a special skill set. He's athletic. And I think what surprised me most in our conversation, he's a hell of a lot tougher physically and mentally than I thought.
Ty, when you're talking about weapons for Josh Allen, I'm curious to get your thoughts on who you think has higher upside going into this season between Dalton Kincaid and second-year receiver Keon Coleman.
You know, who knows how this offense is really going to be run. Everyone eats is a great thing. They did score 30 points in 8 straight games. Like, I can't blame the offense. At some point, the defense has to stop a nosebleed in the playoffs. Like, do something. Josh Allen in this offense shouldn't have to be perfect against the Chiefs. Like, force a turnover, right? Flip the momentum at some point. So it's always, like, tough for me to criticize this offense because we didn't know what to expect without Stephon Diggs. So they were damn good on that side of the ball. That being said, when it's 4th and 5, you've got to have a go-to guy. I think that you've got to go into that play, that moment, everything on the line, knowing we're going to feed this player the ball because he is going to eat that defender alive. And instead of, okay, just, whoever's open, read the field. To me, Kincaid is that player. I just think that if he's used the right way, this is a matchup nightmare. And there aren't many 6'4", and now with the work he did, rock solid, muscular tight ends that can run like.
All of our cereal, free home.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
There's going to have to be some professionalism there. He kind of got punched in the mouth last year and didn't respond. Kincaid also to an extent, but I think that, Keon Coleman, there might be a little bit more of a concern with, okay, let's see what he can do, how he can respond to an injury, because his game has to be physicality. He's just never going to outrun anybody. He's going to have to physically dominate corners.
Ty Dunn, go long joining us. Ty, you live in the area, and you certainly have covered this team for many years, and they haven't gotten over. They haven't gotten past. And what will it actually take? And you talked a little bit about the defense. My take is, like, everything matters this year. Get the 1 seed. That would certainly help. What can get Buffalo past the finish line in the AFC and finally get back to the Super Bowl here?
At the start of the offseason, I was inclined to think, just get more weapons, just load up. The defense isn't stopping anybody. I mean, the numbers just bleed off the screen what they're doing in these elimination games. And let's not forget, like, the Chiefs, they scored their most points against the Bills in that AFC Championship game, and they scored in the last, 36 games. I mean, they weren't exactly blowing people out of the stadium. This was a different Chiefs team, a different Mahomes, and it was the same result. So, I don't know. Part of me is thinking just own the shootout, try to win 45-38, and you can't count on anything defensively because for whatever reason, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, throw Joe Burrow in there for a game. They have Sean McDermott's number. But I don't know. Brandon Beane, honestly, he kind of convinced me otherwise when we sat down. Basically he's saying, look, I've seen it. I've seen it work. He saw it when he was in Carolina, a D-line that took Brady to the brink and won Super Bowl, got to another in 2015. You see what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did in 2020 against Patrick Mahomes. I think he was running around that night for 497 yards before sacks and incompletions. I mean, that was nuts. And then the Eagles just physically dominated Mahomes again. So that's the blueprint. It's not really rocket science. So are you going to, try to improve in that department? or sit around and do nothing. I feel like you got to try. Like, you got to go get Joey Bosa and Michael Hoyt and Larry Okunjobi and then draft TJ Sanders, Deion Walker. You've got to throw all these different body types into the D-line and give Sean McDermott these options, because that's where it's got to be won. They've got to get to Mahomes some way, somehow, without blitzing. Vic Fangio didn't blitz one time in the Super Bowl, and they still made Mahomes' life hell, because they could also cover on the back end, and maybe that's where Maxwell Harrison can help as well, a smaller cover corner, a little different than what the Kyrie Elams and some of the corners they've gone with in the past. So I don't know if it works, but I do love the fact that they just, threw all these different weapons to all these different positions on the defensive side of the ball, because, hey, if you're not trying, then you got no shot at all.
One of the bigger offseason storylines around the Bills centers around the guy that Thurman Thomas has called the second best player on the Buffalo Bills roster, and that's James Cook. We don't get the sense that negotiations have gone very well. He's the one guy that didn't get a deal done this offseason. Do you get the sense that the Bills have their number, they have their value for that position, and Cook's number just far exceeds it, and he's ready to hit free agency after this season, Ty?
Sure seems like we're treading that direction. I mean, I guess they could tag him. I mean, you feel bad for these running backs, but the teams hold all the leverage. I mean, they can just play those 4 years, and then they can tag them, and then by then, does another team even want to pay your big deal? You might have missed the boat. So that's why James Cook is kind of acting out of character. I mean, I've talked to him in that locker room. He'll probably string 5 to 6 words together at most. He just isn't very talkative, likes to stay in the background and do his thing on the field. And then he's pretty active, him or his agency, I'm not quite sure, on his social media, letting everybody know he wants to get paid. But I think that's two-sided, though, and the Bills know it. Like, they're playing hardball here because they can. They know that James Cook doesn't want to get fined. Like, he said as much in mandatory minicamp. In so many words, he paraphrased Marshawn Lynch. I'm only here because I don't want to get fined. So I think he'll be there. I think he'll play. He's not going to play worse because he's unhappy. I mean, he will ball out because he's going to want to get paid by somebody. But I don't know. I feel like they get something done. It's more of a hunch than anything. I think that Brandon Beane gets the human side of the game, like Howie Roseman, and he just knows that if you're performing, other teammates in that locker room are looking to see who's getting paid. James Cook elevated this offense. Think about where they were with Frank Gore as the lead back, and Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. Like, he is dynamic in a way that they are not. And I get it, 48% of the snaps, he's got some pass pro issues, all of that does matter. But just use your eyeballs. That touchdown he had at the goal line against the Chiefs, probably the best play we've seen out of anybody outside of Josh Allen all season long. He brings you something that's explosive, something that pops, and there's not a lot of players like that on the offense in terms of like, okay, I'm a defensive coordinator, I have to game plan for this player. I think that they get it done. I don't know what the number is. I just feel like on the cusp of training camp, Brandon Beane, James Cook's reps, they get a deal done, and he's happy.
Ty Dunn from Go Long is our guest, golongtd.com, where you can subscribe. Ty, about McDermott, when we saw him last year, we saw some things we never saw before, like him doing snow angels. I could never imagine, even after a win like that. Sean McDermott. Are we seeing the evolution here of Sean McDermott, or is he just letting his guard down a little bit? This is actually the person he was. Your thoughts on McDermott entering here the 2025 season?
Oh, no doubt about it. And hell, he let me into his office like a week before the playoffs started. I would have never have guessed that would be something that happens. I don't know, around December 2023 when I wrote that series. Like, yeah, he has evolved for good, and that's just not us in the media saying it. That's people around him, coaches, teammates, their players, even around the league. They can notice he is kind of loosening up a little bit, letting guys' personalities shine. And I think that by loosening up and taking a step back, he can kind of look at the forest as opposed to the trees where you're micromanaging. And early on, I get it too. I wrote this then. Like, he kind of had to micromanage early on. I mean, the place was an absolute bleep show under Rex Ryan.
Yeah.
He had to make sure he had all of his coaches doing exactly what he wanted them to do to try to turn this thing around. But then it kind of grinded some coaches down, and obviously several left for lateral jobs, and were very vocal about it. But, yeah, I think that he's evolved personality-wise. What I'll say, though, is what about on the field? It still is the same results against the Chiefs, you get in these playoff games and something is missing. So that's where I commend Brandon Beane, where, okay, give him some different players, and let's see if there's different results.
Hard to imagine that he can do better than an MVP season, but I guess, last year at this time, we were talking about what Josh Allen would have to do for the Bills to get to the Super Bowl, and Gino over here says Josh Allen needs to play at an MVP level for the Bills to make it to the Super Bowl. It wasn't enough. So I guess my question to you, Ty, in a year, and we all know as guys that have gotten married, what that does to your life, how it changes your perspective, how it changes your outlook and your focus. Josh Allen, the recently wed Josh Allen. I know Kyle Brandt did a piece on this on Good Morning Football. Are we expecting a repeat performance, an MVP-like type season out of Josh Allen again this year? How high is that ceiling?
Whew, man, I'd be a fool to say it'd be anything but what we saw last season. He's unbelievable. I mean, really, what can't he do? By air, by ground. I think last year he proved he can win the mental game. Like the way he was reading the field and making adjustments, and even in the run game and kind of controlling the game, he took that to an entirely new level. And, I just think that his personality is contagious for all the right reasons. A lot of teammates describe him as, he's a 10-year-old kid making inappropriate jokes in the locker room. He's going to run through your face. Like, he treats it like it's his backyard. And when you're playing that way, you got to be surrounded with players who kind of play that way and coaches who kind of think that way. I think they've got that in Joe Brady. They got that in this completely remade receiving core. It's a really tight unit. I mean, at training camp at Fisher, Dalton Kincaid was talking about this. They'll be playing Settlers of Catan, and it's going to be heated, and they're going to be going at it. Like, there's some real camaraderie there. And I'm not sure how it kind of translates to the field, but it does. So I think you see exactly what you saw last year. Is it enough? Well, that's where the ascension of a Kincaid and a Keon Coleman kind of have to come into play. They're going to need somebody to take a step there. Even a Joshua Palmer. I mean, Beane went out of his way to say that Palmer is going to be dynamite for this team, this offense. Elijah Moore even looked good through mini camp. So I think there's enough areas where you can see some incremental improvement around Josh Allen to where, yeah, he can even be better than what he was, because I guess, like I said earlier, these quarterbacks, they shouldn't have to be perfect. Go back, Peyton Manning is the best comp, right? Like, Peyton Manning was knocking at that door forever, finally busted it down, beat Tom Brady, won a Super Bowl. But that year with the Colts in 06, and then, of course, in 15 when he won it with the Broncos, like, Manning wasn't that great in the playoffs. His number against the Ravens in that divisional round, they didn't have a touchdown drive. I think his passer rating was in the 30s. So, but he had a defense. He had some help. Like, the pressure is on everybody else, especially on that defensive side of the ball. Like, give this guy a little help. He needs it. I think they do get it this year, though. I'm optimistic about the Bills in 2025. I feel like, this infusion of youth and even second-year guys that maybe don't have those playoff scars of 13 seconds. I mean, they weren't around then. Like, the fans and us in the media, like, that's how we're viewing the Bills. It's, banging your head against this wall for 7-8 years. But a lot of young players, like, you don't know what you don't know. They weren't around for that. So I think, in a way, they took a step last year, and now maybe they're in position to dethrone a Chiefs team that, hey, you hate to say that they're going to take a step back because they always prove everybody wrong, but they sure as hell look vulnerable against the Eagles.
Ty, just a few more here. We'd be remiss if we didn't ask you about some other situations in the league. The Steelers this week give T.J. Watt the money, and look, he's really, really good. On the other hand, is this actually going to work with Aaron Rodgers? You've certainly covered this league a long time. Your thoughts on Rodgers and the Steelers and how this might look?
Oh, no, it's going to be terrible. I don't see how this works for the Steelers. I mean, it's kind of pathetic to think that you're going to, turn back the clock 4 or 5 years and get that Aaron Rodgers. We've seen it. Go back to the season finale against the Lions at Lambeau Field. It looked like he didn't even want to be there. It was just apathetic, lethargic, and that was it. Even Green Bay finally moved on and started the Jordan Love era, and then, obviously he tears his Achilles, misses the season. I don't care what the statistics said. I mean, he had a lot of empty calorie games against bad teams. We saw it here in Orchard Park against the Bills. He was an old, immobile, disinterested quarterback who, he might say all the right things publicly, but he's not wired like Tom Brady. Like, Brady is the only one who can play like that into the early 40s, mid 40s. Like Father Time destroys all of these guys at 41, 42. You've got to be this maniacal competitor, eat the avocado ice cream like Tom Brady. And hell, he made sacrifices in his personal life, as we know. Like I just don't. I was around Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. He's a top 10 quarterback. He's unbelievable, but he beat you with his creativity, his improvisation. That stuff's gone. He just can't move like that anymore. And I don't think he's driven like a Brady. This is a 500 sub 500 team that will be looking for a quarterback next year.
Ty, talking about Father Time, back to the Bills for 1 second, because you've talked to a lot of these guys, a lot of the players, a lot of the coaches. There's one guy on this roster that I feel like we never hear from. We never hear him speak to the media. I don't know. I don't even know if he has vocal cords. Is Matt Milano, I mean, we know his time is up with the Bills after this season, but right now, is Matt Milano a better football player than Dorian Williams?
I don't think so. I don't know. Like you think Matt Milano and you think some of those legendary hits, legal hits, where he is just lighting dudes up. And man, if you're getting that Matt Milano, sign me up every day. He was unbelievable at his peak, but injuries take a toll. I mean, you're talking back-to-back years, serious injuries where he didn't look like the same player when he came back. And I feel like Dorian Williams' arrow is pointing the right direction. Like if he can kind of catch up mentally and get to that place where he knows where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there, he brings that violence that I know Bean and McDermott love. And I think that, him and Terrell Bernard is a damn good pairing. But, I hesitate, though. I don't want to completely write off Matt Milano yet, but it sure looked like the end was near last time we saw him.
Last one for me, Ty, and a team that certainly a lot of people follow in this area, the New York Giants. What has to happen for Brian Daboll and Joe Shane to get another year or more this season, as we're all expecting this to be a very, very important year for that franchise?
I think just signs of life out of the quarterback position. They're kind of straddling the present and the future. It went about as good as it could, right? They weren't able to get Matthew Stafford. I mean, they would have done anything for him. I guess they flirted with Aaron Rodgers a little bit. But then you signed Russ Wilson, Jameis Winston, just to have some veterans. But you had to get a quarterback in the draft, and you had to get somebody that Brian Daboll wanted to coach. I was just talking to a couple sources. I'll have to write this at some point. I mean, Daboll's personality and Daniel Jones's personality, let's just say, did not mesh. They are extremely different. Daboll and Josh Allen, they did mesh. I think Daniel Jones was just so damn serious and straight-laced. And, Daboll wants a guy who's just going to loosen up and play free and, will take criticism and want to prove you wrong if you criticize him. Like, him and Allen had this amazing back-and-forth kind of dynamic. Jones would kind of go into a shell. Like, he got criticized. He didn't take it that well. I mean, I talked to him last training camp. He was still pissed off about the Hard Knock stuff and the fact that the Giants were even considering Jane Daniels, Drake May at the top of the draft. And even before that, like, his monster contract, he's telling people in the locker room, well, it's really just a 2-year deal. It's like, dude, you're getting $40 million a year. That's pretty good. Long-winded way of saying, I think Jackson Dart kind of has that personality that will mesh with Daboll. Can he play? We'll see, right? It's that Lane Kiffin Ole Miss offense where he's just clapping for the ball and slinging it. He's going to need some work, and they probably don't want to play him right away. But if you just see some signs of life in Jackson Dart and that dynamic between him and Daboll, regardless of how many games they win, 5, 6, 7, you got to win some games. But you go 6-11, you go 7-10, and Dart has a few good games. I think that warrants another year and a contract extension because Shane and Daboll, you might not see it. I feel like they've done a hell of a lot of good behind the scenes. That place was an absolute tire fire under Dave Gettleman, just in terms of culture. I talked to those scouts. I mean, they did not enjoy working there whatsoever. So that was a lot to undo.
What I love about Ty Dunn, besides the exceptional work he does covering the Bills, covering the NFL, everything at GoLongTD.com, he and I think, park our cars in the same garage. If you're too big to do the little things, you're too little to do the big things. Not only have we had the discussion about the guy who doesn't return the cart to the cart corral, we also have learned that there's another enemy out in public that we have to keep an eye out for, be vigilant on, and that is guy who stands up immediately upon plane landing, Ty.
Oh, the worst of the worst. I've gotten some pushback today from those who are 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". I'm tall. I have to stretch my legs. To which I say, take a couple Advil, right? Like there's take some, the immediate pop-up just signals I'm very important. I've got places to be. Get the hell out of my way. I don't like it. It's the same person who doesn't return the shopping cart. But even worse than this is if the person does the pop-up, right, and then they budge. They don't deplane by row.
Right. Yes.
That we're talking minimum 10 years in prison,
Yeah.
I think. At least. You know what you have to do, all your listeners, if somebody's kind of getting itchy and antsy and you can tell they're going to budge, stick your elbow out in the lane and kind of just fall into it like an inadvertent elbow to their sternum. And you can kind of play it off. You didn't mean to do it, but I've been doing that lately, and it's been putting people in their place. So I think that's what we really have to do
Wait a
to turn
second.
the tide.
Okay, another objection. I have a connecting flight. I'm worried I'm going to miss it. Ty, is that acceptable?
Not acceptable. What are you going to do? You're going to save 2.2 seconds?
We have to really just realize when we choose to fly the friendly skies, we are giving up all control of our lives from the time we check in with TSA to the time we walk out to baggage claim. It's up to them. It's not up to us.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You're up there. You might as well just sit and relax, deplane by row.
Yeah.
And you know what? As soon as you get off the plane, if you have to take off on a sprint to your gate, my dad used to call it the done dash. We've had a few of those, right? You might have to hustle at that point. That's understandable. That's where you can make up time. You're not going to make up nothing on the plane just sitting there. I don't know. Like if I don't get these people, and I've had some really good people even emailing me today when I was ranting about it, said, hey, I got to stand. No, you don't have to stand up. Sit down. Let's be civil. We live in a society, as George Costanza once said. My God.
Ty, we know you had a chance to talk to Fitzy recently on the pod. Tell us about everything you're working at Go Long TD that we can check out, and thank you for your time as always.
No, thank you, fellas. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I talked to Fitz this morning. Put up the pod. I'll put up the transcription if people would prefer to read. But, all I can say is like the first 10 minutes we just talked about chest hair and back hair. I just thanked him for, giving some confidence to us hairy-chested people, making us feel better about ourselves. And then I asked him point blank, what's his take on back hair? I'm not going to lie. It surprised me. He dissected it all. But other than that, we get into the 2011 Bills that went over Tom Brady and just his nomadic career, 9 teams and having 7 kids in 7 different cities. And, this epiphany he had later in his career to kind of just learn to have fun when he was stressing out about the game. It was awesome. I mean, as you can imagine, Fitz is Fitz.
Ty, great stuff. Hope to do this again. And maybe we'll see Ed Fisher here coming up.
Hell yeah, absolutely. I'll try to find you.
All right. Appreciate it, Ty. Enjoy your weekend, bud. Thanks for the time.
You too. Thanks for having me.
There he is, the founder of GoLongTD.com. That's the great Ty Dunn, stopping by the sports bar.
Fantastic. And his book on tight ends is wonderful, too.
The blood and the guts, man. It's good stuff. We will get to Bruce Nolan of the Bruce Exclusive joining us in the 4 o'clock hour. Next in the sports bar, I've got my list of 5 potential camp casualties, veteran camp casualties heading into week 1 for the Buffalo Bills as we prepare for training camp getting underway starting Wednesday at St. John Fisher University. We have time for your calls as well. 866-4326, our number, 585-866-4FAN.
W239BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester, sports update.
Your leader, a familiar name at the Open, Scotty Scheffler, is 64 today. He's got a one-shot lead. Scheffler at 10 under through 2 rounds. Playing well is Rory McIlroy. He's at 3 under.
Yeah, another solid day. A couple under, improved a little bit on yesterday. Hit it in play a little bit more off the tee, which was nice to have some looks, out of the fairway and into some of these greens. And it was a good day. I feel like I maybe could be a couple closer to the lead. But yeah, overall in a decent position heading into the weekend.
Buffalo Bills signed their second-round pick today, TJ Sanders. Veterans reporting to St. John Fisher University coming up on Tuesday. Second half of the baseball season's underway as Seiya Suzuki with a 2-run homer. Cubs are leading the Red Sox 3-1 in the 6th. Rochester Red Wings tonight playing at Lehigh Valley. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Some good news for the Bills. Their entire draft class for this year is under contract. TJ Sanders, he has signed.
NFLPA head Lloyd Howard Jr. announced his resignation. This amid a few controversies.
Now to the Open Championship Round 2.
Phase 2.
Time win.
Baseball's back.
Mike Danger.
I finally received the recognition I've been waiting for my whole career. I am now the proud owner of the Odyssey branded utility backpack.
Gene Battaglia.
Mike Danger and Gene Battaglia lead the charge for the Nighthawks. Come on down. Everybody get a share.
There was nothing to watch last night.
Dinosaurs.
WNBA All-Star Weekend begins tonight in Indiana.
Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
Look like a winner, feel like a winner.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Mandalorian. I can't. His mind, you hop in there. I don't know.
I don't want to hop in. That's a dangerous place to hop in. Our bounty hunter of the finest audio in the galaxy, helping us get set up every afternoon for fantastic sports talk in the Flower City. Welcome back into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us at 95.7 FM. Glad you're with us at AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app. You can hear us on iHeartRadio. You can hear us on TuneIn. You can watch our stream. We're live every afternoon from 3 until 6 on Twitch and on YouTube at The Fan Rochester. Bruce Nolan, the Bruce exclusive, less than 20 minutes from now, and we'll continue talking Buffalo Bills as we get ready for training camp, which gets underway Wednesday morning at St. John Fisher University. And in preparation for that, Gino, well, let's just dive in head first to the conversations that everybody's having going into training camp. What are some of the thoughts, the storylines, the questions that are left unanswered? How about 5 veteran players that could find themselves as camp casualties as the Bills head into week 1?
I don't want to say I love it because I'm not, rooting for anybody to lose their job, but this is the reality. These guys are all competing for a spot, and every year we're going to have one guy that's like, ooh, I wonder if he's in trouble. And sometimes these situations sort themselves out. Sometimes it's a veteran getting dealt, but the roster's going to look a little different this year. So I want to hear what you got here.
All right. I'm going to put this one and start the list at number 5, like ripping off a Band-Aid. And this is something that will bring joy to the life of Terrible Take Timmy. It's an unpopular opinion, but what about Taron Johnson?
What?
He's good, but now he's also expensive, Gino. And the Bills can save $6.5 million in cap in 2025, spread his dead cap over the next 2 seasons if, and this is the unlikely part, this is why he's number 5 on the list, if they trade Johnson. I know that's unlikely, much like they had to prepare for life after Poyer and Hyde, though the Bills already have 2 vets in Cam Lewis and Jamarcus Ingram. Plus, watch how they deploy at training camp. Watch how they deploy the younger players, the Dorian Strongs, the Daquan Hardys, the Corey Couch. If you hear of any of those guys making plays this preseason, there might be a cheaper alternative for the Bills as soon as this season.
That's nuts. I'm sorry. Like you have stepped off on the wrong. You and Tim belong, I don't know where. Like, you seriously, like Terrence.
I know it's an unpopular.
I would hear that next year. I would hear that, hey, Dorian Strong eventually could be the replacement. But the beauty of having a Cam Lewis is, hey, he can play the nickel. He can play either safety position. Why would you automatically weaken that position? There is no way. L-O-C-K, capitalize it, lock, Taron Johnson.
He's number 5 on my list for a reason, Gene.
You're off to a bad start, Mike Danger.
All right, well, thank you, Gino. We'll go to number 4 now, and Daquan Jones, who's another popular vet, but he is also expensive for a one-gap nose, a non-factor against the run for the Bills. They've telegraphed this move here by bringing in free agents, by investing in the draft. If cut, they would save the Bills $5.5 million on this year's cap and spread the dead money over this season and next, just under $4 million each. I don't think Daquan Jones is on the Week 1 roster for the Buffalo Bills.
No, I mean, he's going to be 34 in December.
Good guy.
So, we love him. We've had him on a bunch of times. Penn State.
We are.
Penn State. Well, I'm asking honestly. Does Terry Pegula, hey, were you keeping? I don't know at this point.
Just because he's a Penn State guy. Number 3 on the list, let's go with Curtis Samuel. 31 receptions last season, 253 yards, 1 touchdown, by far the worst output of his career after signing that expensive free agent contract last season. You've added Josh Palmer and Elijah Moore the offseason through free agency. That makes this cut doable. Release savings are minimal here for Samuel. And given the crowded state of the wide receiver room, you can't rule it out. If a team that is desperate for wide receiver help wants to somehow trade for Samuel, they'd be doing the Bills a massive favor to the tune of $7.3 million in savings in 2025.
He's got a dead cap at $12 million in danger. I don't see him moving off the roster. If anybody, if we're going to have the conversation which guy would be the surprise one, we all love that video of Elijah Moore and the cones and everything else. But when you put the pads on and everything else, if it's not kind of working, I think Samuel was on this roster. And by the way, the turf toe injury last year, that's kind of tough. Samuel's 29. I'm not going to say it's as crazy as Taron Johnson, but I'm going to disagree with you on that one.
Number 2 on the list, Mitch Trubisky, my friend. And this is a no-brainer from a business standpoint. You have Mike White, and while Trubisky might be buds with Josh Allen, cutting him shaves $2.5 million with $750,000 in dead money. You go cheaper, you go younger, and you know that if you're talking backup quarterback at any point during the season in Buffalo, you're probably already screwed.
Yeah.
And number 1 on the list, that would be Shaq Thompson for me. 35 tackles in Carolina last year, 0 sacks, 31 years old, $1 million in cap savings if he doesn't make the team, no dead money. It feels like a favor to give a player that Bean and McDermott have a soft spot for one last chance to make a team. He shouldn't. I think Shaq Thompson, number 1 on my camp casualties list.
Okay, this is fascinating because I do think danger, and it depends on what do we think of Dorian Strong. Dorian Strong draft pick, is he going to step up and be a corner? Or are they thinking him behind Terrence Johnson? I don't know. There's a name that I think would upset some people. Tre'Davious White. Tre'Davious White, this time last year with the Rams, was getting torched. Now, did we pay attention closely in Baltimore? Not really, but people said he played a little bit better. If Maxwell Harrison does what he's supposed to do, he will earn that job. Tre'Davious White as corner 4 on this roster, he would carry a dead cap of only $2.2 million. That's it. So, to me, that's a favor bringing back Trey White. And we all love Trey White.
I think there's a bigger favor at that same position. That would be a bigger casualty than, not a bigger named casualty, but an easier player to move out. Dane Jackson.
Dane Jackson.
Yeah.
Dane Jackson, to me, is you cut Dane Jackson, but Dane Jackson's on the practice squad just in case. He's taking that old Josh Norman role where, all right, we need a corner. Let's bump him up. Ingram, I wish you had a better option than Ingram. Yes, UB. Yes, I understand that. He's just not. If you can't develop him at the corner position, then what are we doing here eventually? So Ingram is another guy that I would kind of say, all right, maybe he doesn't make the final 53 here. Some people talk about Epineza, but I don't see that at all. I think A.J. Epineza's job is safe on this team.
Oof.
There's another one too, danger that Balin Spector. My gosh.
Yeah.
Balin Spector, look, availability hasn't been his thing here.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, those are guys that after all that they've invested in them, Spector especially, is somebody who's just not been able to stay healthy. If they were to move off of him, I don't think we would really shed any tears. And you got a guy like Buffalo Joe. Are we ready? I mean, are we ready for the the absolute deluge of Buffalo Joe love once he gets on the field during the preseason?
Well, Buffalo Joe will amass tackles. He will make plays. And when we're searching for things to talk about in preseason games that don't mean anything, Buffalo Joe is going to be the star. Like Buffalo Joe, forever and ever and ever, will own the month of August long after he's gone. We will always refer to Buffalo Joe and talk about, man, when we're talking about preseason games, it's Buffalo Joe.
I think they have to hold on to guys like Andreessen, guys like Jamarcus Ingram. There's a Buffalo connection. They are also provincial. They want to claim ownership of the guys that went to school there. And if you get rid of them, really, let's be realistic. Where are they going? They're not going anywhere. So they're good football players that you give a roster spot to because they add a little bit more, just a little bit more shine, a little bit more of a halo towards your love for the community which you serve. So I think that guys like Andreessen, guys like Ingram, guys like Cam Lewis, these are guys that they might not be the superstar player. They're good football players, not great football players, but they're on this team. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah, and talk about somebody who is not going anywhere, or maybe. They're still underwater on the Ty Bass contract.
No.
Tyler Bass last year, and it all changed. That 60-yarder, but you remember the first half of the season. You remember training camp. He had the yips. Something was off. Maybe mentally he's in a good spot here. But Tyler Bass, if you moved on from him, $5.9 million in terms of dead cap, which is more than his cap hit, which tells me, that this is why we're not having a kicking competition.
Yeah, no competition for Bass at training camp. However, hot punter talk here with Jake Camarda and Brad Robbins in a punter's duel. With Camarda, the guy that you would think is the leader in the clubhouse there. We'll see how they perform throughout the course of training camp and the preseason. New holder for Tyler Bass, too. That's something to monitor in terms of the special teams game. What kind of difference does that make in terms of Bass's performance in the preseason? So there you go. And we'll dive a little bit more into Buffalo Bills roster, Buffalo Bills training camp stories, camp battles, the Bruce exclusive. Bruce Nolan going to be stopping by here in less than 10 minutes. You can join us at 866-4326, 866-4FAN. Couple of NFL notes, specific the Buffalo Bills. The second round holdout storyline is coming to a quick and fast end as TJ Sanders and many other second rounders around the NFL have signed with their teams. In the case of Sanders, he got almost 100% guaranteed for his 4-year deal. He got 95% of that deal's total value guaranteed, his 4-year, $10.645 million contract with the Buffalo Bills.
Wow. Yeah, and again, this is Cleveland setting the bar. You can say, oh, collusion, it's wrong. Well, it's a tricky one, right? But when it comes to draft picks, we came up with the system back in 2011, like guys that are entering the league. It's nuts to think that you have Sam Bradford, who made all this money because he was the last guy to kind of accomplish this, getting paid like that. But now everything is kind of slotted. It's the question that should contracts be guaranteed? I don't know, Danger. Maybe get a real head of the NFLPA.
What do you mean?
And maybe fight for guaranteed contracts like other leagues.
What do you mean get a real head of the NFLPA? I thought the last guy was wonderful. Did a great job in his short tenure.
Was he just saying I'm one of you by expensing these things? Is that really what?
So,
I'm just a normal guy.
You missed it earlier. Yes, the last night the NFL Players Association Executive Director Lloyd Howell resigned. And today, we learned via an ESPN report that an outside investigator that was hired by the Players Union received documents this week showing that Howell charged the union for not one but 2 visits to strip clubs, including a car service that took him from the airport to one of the clubs. That would be Tootsie's Cabaret. Howell picked up by the car service at Fort Lauderdale International, and the car stopped at Tootsie's where the driver was hired to wait for 7 hours outside. Hey, not enough for nothing. If you're Howell, at what point do you say to the driver, hey, man, it's going to be a while. if you want to come in, I'll take care of some things for you.
Is there any chance there's legitimate business I can't even make that counter argument. No, there's no chance. Yeah, you do business on the golf. You've heard this, right? Golf. You get the deal done on the golf course.
Sure.
We're going to get the deal done at Tootsie's?
Yeah. Sign on the thong, which is dotted. I don't know. That is a lack of self-awareness by Lloyd Howell. And he is no longer the executive director. So the Players Union finds themselves in a little bit of a quagmire here.
The expense report, player engagement event to support and grow our union.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Tootsie's Cabaret and the annual Players Association Engagement and Player Development Symposium, hosted by Pepper on stage 2, Jade on stage 3, Peaches over there on stage 5. Come on.
You're a proud sponsor of the sports bar, the Tally Ho. Perhaps, like, if you're there in town this week, we can, you don't have to worry about expensing. We know people.
We don't wish summer away. We don't wish away time in the sports bar. But when Christmas comes around, it's a special time of year in the sports bar whenever the holiday season approaches. Dashing through the snow. We can't wait.
That's the one commercial where people literally would call up. What? Can you look up next time that's playing?
Requesting commercial.
Okay, yeah.
Let's check in with Bruce Nolan.
Who's listening right now, he might be having second thoughts.
Nah, he's one of us. Bruce Exclusive Podcast is where you can find Bruce. Let's get into the Buffalo Bills. Some of these offseason storylines, a little camp preview next on the Fan Rochester.
on 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan Rochester. When you wake up through the Odyssey app and make your mornings as thrilling as a game-winning touchdown. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Scotty Scheffler is in the lead at the Open. A 64 today, one shot ahead, 10 under through 2 rounds. The Buffalo Bills signing their second-round pick, TJ Sanders. Chris Brown on One Bills Live with more details.
TJ Sanders got the deal done with the Bills. 4-year deal, $10.645 million according to reports, and about $10 million of that is guaranteed, which is very similar to the level of guarantees that Keon Coleman got as the top pick in the second round last year.
We'll talk some Buffalo Bills football coming up next. Bruce Nolan, the Bruce exclusive podcast, will be joining us. Second half of the baseball season is underway at Wrigley. Cubs leading the Red Sox 4-1 in the top of the 7th. Seiya Suzuki with a 2-run homer. Rochester Red Wings open in the second half tonight. They play at Lehigh Valley. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader of 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Always enjoy our conversations with Bruce Nolan, host of the Bruce Exclusive. You can find it wherever you get your podcast. Bruce, I want to say one of the last times we had you on with us, we talked about the news cycle in the NFL, how fast it actually moves and how it's hard for us to retain any information. So from this offseason with the Buffalo Bills, is there a bit of news that you've just all of a sudden forgot about that's actually very significant to what this team could be in 2025?
I frequently forget that Joey Bosa is a Buffalo Bill. Frequently forget. It's just something that we know when it happened that we all said the same thing. It's a high ceiling move, right? The payoff could be big. But then all of a sudden the Buffalo Bills invest significantly in the remainder of free agency when it comes to the defensive line. They double, triple down in the draft and add even more defensive linemen. And then Joey Bosa, he's got a little bit of a soft tissue. Maybe it might be a little bit. And all of a sudden we forget he exists. I will openly admit that the same level of ceiling that existed for Joey Bosa 3 months ago hasn't changed, but our perception of it because of the other noise, I think, has changed.
Hey, let's stick there because I think a lot of us identify the line as, all right, this needs to improve if the Bills want to get to where they're going. Can they do it if a bunch of B+ performances, or do they need an Ed Oliver to finally step up, or a Greg Rousseau? How do these pieces kind of fit together here, Bruce, on the defensive line?
I am of the opinion that you can moneyball a defensive line. You can replace people in the aggregate. I think we've seen successful defensive lines that were without a massive superstar have success in the NFL because of good coordination and consistent positive reps. And so I don't think that it's a weak link system. I just think that you necessarily need to have a certain standard on the defensive line that you have to hit consistently, and you need to keep people fresh, and you have to have good coordination. I think that one of the things we're going to be looking at for the Buffalo Bills defensive line in 2025 is, do you see more games, right? Do you see stunts? Do you see movement? Because I think that the metrics would reflect that they're more effective when they do that than when they aren't. But you have a bunch of new pieces now. Does the defensive staff feel like this is the time where you can run more games? When you look at third down, and a significant chunk of the Buffalo Bills defensive additions this offseason, you can make an argument they are tailor-made to combat the Buffalo Bills' biggest weakness on defense last year, which was specifically third and long. If you look at Maxwell Hairston, everybody assumes because he's a really good athlete that, he's a pure man guy. And that I would make an argument that off coverage and breaking on the ball is probably one of the best things that Maxwell Hairston does. When can you run off coverage and have your guys break on the ball? It's third down. So I think that you think about that and the defensive line and the moves that they've made, and you think to yourself, okay, they clearly identified not just, defense is the issue, but a specific part of defense, and they went after it, and we'll see if it works.
So, Bruce, we talked about the defensive line. We talked about secondary. I'm curious, and this is something that we've been talking about throughout the course of the offseason. I'm curious to get people's opinion on whether or not they believe that right now Dorian Williams is a better football player than Matt Milano.
I am one of those people that I don't project things like optimistically. I don't say, well, look, if you extrapolate these 3 games over the course of 17, because that's just not the way NFL works. And in the same way, I'll believe that Dorian Williams is better than Matt Milano when I see that he's better than Matt Milano. I don't believe that right now. I think that you saw Matt Milano start to round a little bit more into form as the end of last season came upon us. And yeah, I mean, it would be ideal if he was, but I don't want to hope cast that. So for me, it's not I don't think there's a training camp battle there. I don't think Matt Milano is in imminent danger of losing his spot. I would have to see that occur before I believed it. And right now I haven't seen that.
Yeah, let's go over to the other side as we're talking with Bruce Nolan, the Bruce exclusive, joining us here in the Sports Bar. And we're not expecting anything different at the running back position, correct? Like, I thought maybe we would have a storyline, but I'm going to credit James Cook because he certainly could have made a lot of noise here entering training camp. But, Bruce, your thoughts on what I think is the best triumvirate at running back here in the NFL?
Yeah, it really is a good group of 3, and I think the offensive line really contributes significantly to that. To the idea that you can plug in a lot of different styles of runners and still have success. I think this is really an Aaron Kromer stat when you think about the Buffalo Bills rushing attack and how effective it's been. Funny story, James Cook allegedly had a breakout year. He actually had fewer touches per game in 2024 than he did in 2023. But he scored so many more touchdowns that our perception of his effectiveness and our perception of his volume is a lot more than it actually is. So I don't think that you need to say, oh, well, Ray Davis will take a bigger step, Ty Johnson. I mean, the split that you've seen is kind of a split I think you're going to get. And could you see Ray Davis get a few more of those touches as he matures in the role and isn't a rookie and you can trust him in pass protection more? Sure, yeah. But ultimately, the idea that you're going to have this massive swing in James Cook usage and he's going to go from high 40s in snap count to, high 30s down, or he's going to go to high 60s up. I think that the Buffalo Bills are going to look at that situation and go, it wasn't broke. Why fix it? And Josh Allen's gone on record as saying Ty Johnson is the best third down back in the league. And we can have a discussion about that, but we certainly know that Ty Johnson's receiving chops meaningfully helped this team in a lot of games. I mean, there was running jokes on social media that, guys, we've been looking for a wide receiver 1 this whole offseason. Turns out it was the third string running back.
Yeah.
That's how effective you got, the effectiveness you got from Ty Johnson in the passing game. So I think they're going to take if it ain't broke, don't fix it situation. I think next offseason is going to be the conversation of, well, does Ray Davis just absorb James Cook's touches and James Cook, hey, thank you for your service. I hope you get a gigantic contract somewhere else. Is that the conversation that happens next offseason? For this offseason, seems to be status quo.
Yeah, I wonder about that. It doesn't seem like the kind of thing that Brandon Beane would do, deviating from how they put value on every position and paying a player more than what they put for that value on a position. That would be a lack of discipline that we haven't seen from Brandon Beane. So you're of the mindset that after this season, James Cook hits free agency and gets the big payday from another team.
I am. I would be surprised if it was different because Brandon Beane has proof that, hey, we can plug in a lot of running backs and have success here. And if you think about, hey, the Devin Singletary, yeah, he wasn't quite as effective as James Cook is, but the fact that they were able to, when James Cook was out last year, they plugged in Ray Davis and, he had 165 total yards. I mean, he just plugged right in and said, yeah, okay, we got what we want. I think the fact that they signed Ty Johnson this offseason to a 2-year deal and not a 1-year deal, I think is interesting. Because I think it means that, hey, we want to make sure that when the James Cook situation comes around, we have 2 backs on the roster instead of 1, because it gives us more leverage on the possibility that we can let James Cook walk, because it's not we're going from 3 guys we like to 1, and then we have to backfill 2. Now it's going from 3 guys we like to 2 guys we already know, had in the system, and I think that changes the dynamic.
Bruce Nolan, our guest here, talking some Buffalo Bills football. The veterans reporting on Tuesday. Bruce, if you go back to the season-ending press conference with Sean McDermott, he never really kind of plants any seeds there. I thought it was interesting that he talked about Keon Coleman specifically, and okay, maybe that's a second-year player he wants to see more out of, and certainly Dalton Kincaid entering year 3. I think it's notable because here you have the league MVP and the everybody eats, and the Bills offense I don't think was really to blame there for not getting to the Super Bowl, but you see room for growth here. How important is it, or the ceiling here? Who's got the bigger ceiling? Is it Dalton Kincaid, or would you say it's actually Keon Coleman?
I think it's Dalton Kincaid because I think there's less competition for those snaps. When you think about Keon Coleman and you think, okay, they went out and they signed Josh Palmer, who is probably going to be a starting perimeter receiver for this team. Khalil Shakir signed an extension. He's your primary slot guy. The Bills don't run a metric ton of 11 personnel. Now, obviously, they run a lot because everybody runs a lot. But with Dawson Knox under contract, with Dalton Kincaid, you think to yourself, okay, if Elijah Moore starts to do well in the offseason, he's gotten positive pub, is this a situation where Keon Coleman is target 4, target 5 in this offense? I mean, if it goes Shakir, Palmer, Dalton Kincaid, all of a sudden you start to think to yourself, where's Keon Coleman fit in the top, and does he have the opportunity to be a guy that you invest a second-round pick in with the ceiling that you hope for? And so for me, the answer is Dalton Kincaid has a higher ceiling just because there's fewer question marks to his opportunity share than there is for Keon Coleman.
Bruce, never want to see a veteran lose their job at the end of training camp, but let's face it, there's a couple of guys on this roster that fit that bill that could be candidates for that. Are you paying attention to anyone specifically in terms of who could be a camp casualty because of their salary cap hit?
For me, it's QB2. I think that in certain situations, you think to yourself, oh, tie goes to the rookie, right? But really, in a lot of cases, tie goes to the cheaper and younger guy. Like, that's really what they mean. And so in the event of Mike White and Mitchell Trubisky, it's tie goes to the cheaper guy. And Mike White is the cheaper guy. I mean, it's not a massive amount of savings, but it's enough that the Buffalo Bills would move. You saw them move on from Matt Barkley for Mitchell Trubisky in a very similar situation. So as you look at the Buffalo Bills, who are trying to be effective enough but cost-sensitive enough at the QB2 position, which is something that they've, I think, managed pretty well over the course of the Josh Allen tenure. It's one of the reasons why they haven't invested a draft pick in a rookie is because, hey, I want a vet who doesn't need a lot of snaps but is also cheap. And so as you see every year, some backup quarterbacks start to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger deals because teams just don't want to deal with it. They just want to say, listen, I just want to write a check just for peace of mind. The Buffalo Bills are trying to have their cake and eat it too. I want my peace of mind, but I also want it to be cheap. And so because of that, that would mean that tie goes to the cheaper guy. And in this case, I think Mitchell Trubisky has to markedly outplay Mike White in order to not lose his job at the end of training camp.
So, Bruce, you are big into the draft. You know these guys coming in, and now that they're Buffalo Bills, and we saw a little bit in the spring, but now we're kind of diving back in. And gosh, those few years ago, Christian Benford, we realized, wait a second, he's actually pretty good here. Which rookies do you have your eye on here that could actually, have meaningful roles here on this team? I guess beyond what we would hope would be the starting corner opposite Christian Benford being Maxwell Harrison.
To me, there's two people that I think come in and have an easy transition to roles. The first one is second-round pick TJ Sanders, arguably my favorite pick in the entire draft. I think he's a really, really good player, and I'm fascinated to see kind of a side comment that was made after the draft, and that it's not just you can rotate TJ Sanders with Ed Oliver. It's I can line them up next to each other. So as TJ Sanders starts to progress, are you starting to see opportunities for Ed Oliver and TJ Sanders to line up next to each other on a down that's not third and long? That's my question. Because I think it's assumed that if it's 3rd and 11 and you want your best pass rushing package on the field, you're going to see Ed Oliver and TJ Sanders. That's a given. My question is, how far does that go? Like, how far do you stretch it? It's 3rd and long. Cool. And now it's, 3rd and medium. Okay, now it's second and long? Like, how far does that go where they're comfortable still having those two next to each other? How much can TJ Sanders show that he's ready right now to not just be a guy who spells Ed Oliver and also comes into it next to him on long and late downs? The second one is the player I think has probably the easiest transition to a role on the entire team, and it's Jackson Hawes, ironically enough. I think this is a player that has a very easy path to, I totally understand what they're going to do with him, right? Arguably the best blocking tight end of the draft, one of the best film watches of any draft prospect this year. Just a boatload of fun. Grab yourself some popcorn, type in Jackson Hawes, have a good time, pour yourself a glass of wine. You'll enjoy it, I promise.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's a spot for me that you think, hey, I really believe that Jackson Hawes has a ready-made spot. You've seen the Buffalo Bills with that sixth offensive lineman, with that third tight end. They needed someone like Jackson Hawes. They got someone like Jackson Hawes because they got Jackson Hawes. Yeah. So I think that one's just going to be a lot of fun. I think he comes in, has a clear role right away, and can contribute.
Yeah, so more Jackson Hawes, less Alec Anderson, I think is what you're saying there if you bring in that sixth tight
so.
end. Yeah. And when you look at the defensive line here and you look at some of this rookie class and some of the free agent moves that they made with Hoyt and Ogunjobi, when we see them later in the season, the Bills have really set themselves up here with diversity in terms of a guy that, like a Walker, who's just going to eat space versus a guy like Sanders who you can plug in against next to Ed Oliver. I mean, they've got pretty much any kind of weapon you would want on that defensive line given the situation.
They do, and one of the things that came out after the draft that I think is very intriguing is the idea that Dwayne Carter is going to be a one-tech, which I think is something we just we made a note of it after the draft, and then we just didn't really talk about it. Because one of the questions going into the draft was what type of defensive tackle are they going to want to get? Are they getting a 330-pound space eater, two-gapper? And then after the draft, it was, I think Dwayne Carter is going to be our backup at one tech. And we're all like, wait, what now? I'm sorry, he's going to be a what tech? And so I think that if you see him start to become the guy that they clearly think he is, that changes the dynamic on the defensive line because now it's you're running 5 deep. You're running Daquan Jones, Ed Oliver, Larry Ogunjobi, TJ Sanders, Deion Walker, and all of those players are people you can rotate in. And then all of a sudden, Dwayne Carter becomes the sixth dude there. And historically, the Buffalo Bills have kept 5 defensive tackles. Sometimes, occasionally they'll have 6 at a time. But now you're running 5 deep plus Dwayne Carter as a one tech, and that changes the game up front for the Buffalo Bills. I'll be very interested because I didn't think Dwayne Carter was overly effective his first year. Maybe they're thinking it's because he was miscast.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about Carter and ask you about these numbers, too, because, if you count the guys that are suspended that you would think here, I mean, is there going to be, like, a surprise cut here? Or with Ogunjobi and Hoyt, where everything will be fine and they'll keep the 9 defensive linemen, Carter being guy number 9?
Yeah, you're exactly right. If you add up the people who are going to be suspended, you're looking at 12 deep. Right, you have Rousseau, Daquan Jones, Ed Oliver, Joey Bosa. Second line is Hoyt, Ogunjobi, Sanders, and Epinesa. Then you have Landon Jackson, Deion Walker, Dwayne Carter, and Javon Solomon. So you think, okay, the Bills don't keep 12, right? So when Ogunjobi and Hoyt come back from suspension, they're going to have some decisions to make at that point because are the Bills really going to carry 12 defensive linemen? So I think it creates an extremely interesting situation because sometimes the decision is made for you. Someone gets hurt, they go to IR, you go, okay, well, that stinks, but at least I don't have to make a math maneuver now. But the Bills carrying 12 defensive linemen in December is probably not going to happen, which means this is going to be a really interesting situation to keep an eye on.
Bruce, last year at this time, a lot of pundits were predicting that the Bills wouldn't even finish first in the AFC East, and I just love looking back then and looking at where we are now and trying to project what this year might look like. Are we sleeping on any of the Bills' divisional opponents in the AFC East going into this preseason?
I don't think so. I think that the way that you saw the Buffalo Bills play well against their division historically is going to continue on. I think one of the things that's interesting to me is that Miami is trying this offseason to redefine who they are, right? The phrase soft gets used frequently about the Miami Dolphins, whether sometimes even by their own fan base, in relation to their quarterback and their offensive coordinator and their general way of doing business, right? Mike McDaniel tries the whole I wish it was colder thing. It doesn't quite work out that way. And so when you think about the moves that Miami has made, a lot of these moves this offseason have been around creating toughness and being a more physical, balanced team who wants to run the ball more than they have historically. Is it going to work? And that's kind of the Miami thing that kind of sticks out to you. The Patriots, I think, got a lot better this offseason, but they should have got a lot better. They had a ton of draft capital because they were bad last year. So, of course, they got better. They got a lot better. And Mike Vrabel's going to come in. There's going to be a new culture shift. I think depending on how far the Patriots go, depends on how well Drake May does. And then with the Jets, Aaron Glenn is coming in, and he's trying to establish for the Jets what Dan Campbell established for the Lions. But people don't remember the very beginning of the Dan Campbell era in Detroit didn't go super well. So the idea that they're going to see instant results from that roster is probably not a thing. They haven't invested in making the team a ton better this offseason. They've made big changes at the most important positions: head coach, general manager, quarterback. But aside from that, the Jets are pretty similar from a personnel standpoint to the way they were before, which means this is kind of a foundational laying year for them, and then we're going to see where they go from there.
If I'm the agent for Christian Benford, Bruce, I placed the phone call and just planted to see with Brandon Beane saying, hey, can we talk after the season, because the numbers here, and you know where I'm going with this. Sauce Gardner, $85 million guaranteed compared to Christian Benford, $37.6. I know our audience would say, oh, certainly Christian Benford is better. Is that the Jets being stupid, or did Benford's representation actually sell him pretty short there?
I think it's just a matter of getting to the market before the market turns. I think the thing that changed is we had multiple cornerbacks this offseason who became the highest paid cornerback in football. And so when that happens, the market starts to accelerate. And the Buffalo Bills got to the market right before it started to parabolically take off. You see this happen every offseason. If you know a guy's good, be early, right? You see this all the time. Historically, the Jets, kudos to their front office, because they're at least doing it now. Before, they were waiting and waiting and waiting. You see this from the Dallas Cowboys every single year. Yeah. They wait and wait and wait and wait. They lose all their leverage. They pay top of market. They have to franchise. It destroys their cap. They got to do what they got to do, but they wait too long every time. The Bills say, listen, once we've established that we have sample size that says you're a dude, let's start working on a contract right now, because it's not going to get cheaper. So let's just go.
The fully incognito Bruce Nolan, Bruce exclusive, who I'm sure under the cloak of darkness will find his way to St. John Fisher University and Buffalo Bills training camp. And, well, Bruce, while you're there, I mean, feel free to, come on up to the sports bar while we're there. Say, hey, I'm not the FBI. Seriously, you're one of us. You're a friend.
I'll swing by and I'll have a whole conversation with you. And then when we're done, I'll shoot you a message or a text or something and be like, hey, thanks for the lovely time. And you're like, which one of those guys that I talked to was Bruce Nolan?
I try to drag it out of him and be like, okay, doing the radius question.
Nice try, FBI.
I tried the time zone here when it was like, hey, does 4:25 Eastern work for you? Is that your time zone, Bruce? No. No.
I didn't give you anything.
No.
I'm locked up like a vault at this point. I know all your tricks. It's good.
Well, you're going to slip up. We're going to get to you. Bruce, let's do this again during the season, Bruce. And again, if you are at camp, certainly say hello if you can. So.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
You got it. Bruce. There he is. Check out the Bruce exclusive wherever you get your pod. That is Bruce Nolan talking to Buffalo Bills with us here in the sports bar as Bills training camp just a few short days away.
Okay, I think I'm ready when you're talking about training camp and everything else, but wow, it's not just training camp in the final cut down when you have Hoyt and Ogunjobi coming back. And as Bruce pointed out, maybe this works itself out if there's an unfortunate injury or something like that. You're not ready to give up on Dwayne Carter. You forget about Javon Solomon. You're not. You have these draft picks and Walker and Sanders and Jackson.
Yeah.
There's a lot, like you said. When you did your list there, Daquan Jones, to me, like, he would have to show the form he did early on before he got hurt in that London game. And that's going back 2 years
Yeah,
now.
I mean, you're talking about a guy that's just up there in age. I mean, look, there's probably a leadership or a lead by example thing that he brings to the table, but you have every kind of type on this defensive line if you're the Buffalo Bills. You have somebody for every situation. It's just a matter of can the young guys absorb the defense? Can the free agents coming in adapt and adjust to what Sean McDermott throws at them? Yeah, I tend to think that they probably are. And it's going to be a fun thing to watch through the course of training camp and through the preseason. Of course, we won't see Hoyt and Ogunjobi early in the season, so we'll see if any of the young guys step up, make impact plays, and make a name for themselves early in their career.
Yeah. Happy hour in the way, buddy.
Yeah, man. TJ Sanders signing his deal, the second round pick of the Buffalo Bills. So we'll dive into that. More NFL news to get to as well. We have plenty of time for your calls if you want to join us to kick off your weekend happy hour at 866-4326-585-866-4FAN.
And in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Your second round leader at the Open, Scotty Scheffler, of course, a 64 today, a one-shot lead. Rory McIlroy feeling good at 3 under.
Yeah, another solid day. A couple under, improved a little bit on yesterday. Hit it in play a little bit more off the tee, which was nice to have some looks, out of the fairway and into some of these greens. And it was a good day. I feel like I maybe could be a couple closer to the lead, but yeah, overall in a decent position heading into the weekend.
Buffalo Bills signing their second round pick today, TJ Sanders. Camp beginning on Wednesday, veterans reporting on Tuesday. Second half of the baseball season is underway. We have one game in progress. Actually, it's gone final. The Cubs defeating the Red Sox 4-1. Yankees tonight playing in Atlanta. Rochester Red Wings playing at Lehigh Valley. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Some good news for the Bills. Their entire draft class for this year is under contract. TJ Sanders, he has signed.
NFLPA head Lloyd Howell Jr. announced his resignation this amid a few controversies.
Now to the Open Championship Round 2.
Phase 2.
Time when
Baseball's back.
Mike Danger.
I finally received the recognition I've been waiting for my whole career. I am now the proud owner of the Odyssey branded utility backpack.
Gene Battaglia.
Mike Danger and Gene Battaglia lead the charge for the Nighthawks. Come on down. Everybody get a share.
There was nothing to watch last night.
Dinosaurs.
WNBA All-Star Weekend begins tonight in Indiana.
either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
Like a winner, feel like a winner.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Happy hour and an unbelievable weekend of sports in the Flower City ahead. Let's get there. Thanks for joining us on The Fan Rochester. It's a sports bar. Danger and Battaglia, 95.7 FM, AM 950. The Odyssey app, the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app. You can stream us on your phone. You can watch the sports bar as we stream live every afternoon on YouTube and Twitch at The Fan Rochester. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
Now, you could say, well, you got the bye week or you got Labor Day weekend. There's going to be little mini breaks. But this will be the last weekend we have no Buffalo Bills football until
February. Yes. Yes. And so there's a lot to look forward to as training camp gets underway from St. John Fisher University on Wednesday. And, of course, the Fan Rochester will have you covered with us being out there live every day, sending you reports. A total of 9 impressive episodes from St. John Fisher.
9 times.
We will be talking to players, talking to insiders, sharing our reports from practice on a daily basis. Don't worry. I get the request for tickets. Yeah, you're like so many people. Do you have tickets? Look, if you can't be there in person, listening to the sports bar, next best thing. We'll make it feel like you're right there and you're seeing it all.
This is like from back a few years ago, 98 PXY Summer Jam. Like, hey, you got tickets? And like, yeah, no, I don't, unfortunately, but love to hook you up if we had them.
I feel the same way. I almost feel guilty. It's like we get our credential. That's all we get, and that's all we can really do.
It blows my mind that if you go back a decade, you didn't need any tickets. You just roll up.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
The night practices got full.
Nice, but it was really simple. You just went to the cell phone store, and you got the tickets, and they were right there. And they made you go, okay, you had that extra step. And, part of the reason, too, is that the Bills want to make sure that everybody has a good experience. That you don't want to be like 10 deep there. I think what would change Danger is if they actually put grass in at Groundy Stadium. Like when you used to have night practices, it looked like football as you're on a little mini football field, and they don't use that stadium.
Nor do they practice at night.
No,
right? I mean, they have the return of the blue and the red at the stadium, and that's really all that they do as far as anything, later in the evening or at night. Yeah, so the day practices, the morning practices begin Wednesday, and our first show will be Wednesday afternoon live from Pelicano Pavilion there at St. John Fisher University. Looking forward to it, and in preparation, talking to a couple of our favorites who know the Bills inside and out. Ty Dunn from Go Long TD, Bruce Nolan from the Bruce Exclusive, Both gentlemen joining us this afternoon. If you missed either of those conversations, you can find them wherever you get your podcasts, Odyssey, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Search out the Sports Bar, and you'll find all of our guest appearances there.
Yeah, and we're going to be loaded next week as we're working on a lot of stuff. So, yeah, just hang with us. Football's back. I think we're done taking time off, Danger. That's it. Summer's over.
Big news for the Bills today, as many teams around the NFL are getting the business done with their second-round draft picks after a lot of them were holding out, not signing after a couple of second-rounders got fully guaranteed deals. Well, everybody wanting that fully guaranteed 4-year deal as a second-round pick. TJ Sanders getting his deal done today. Didn't get it fully guaranteed, but could you settle for 95% of the deal's total value guaranteed? That's a 4-year, $10.645 million contract for the second-round pick.
Usually there's going to be a rookie that we're going to And when we talked to Bruce exclusive there, like if you look at this class, certainly Maxwell Harrison, we're all hoping will, no question, you are the corner opposite Christian Benford. We want to see you make splash plays. Can we get that out of Harrison? But what about some of these other guys, Danger? Like Sanders coming in, and it's good that he's under. Landon Jackson, you hope that whatever it is that he's on PUP isn't anything long-term. Deion Walker, Space Eater. He brought up Jackson Hawes, the tight end, out of Bowling Green. Like, okay, is a tight end 3, but could he actually be more? Or is there a corner like Dorian Strong? I mean, that's the exciting part where, okay, we got the reports out of spring practices, but what are you really kind of doing in spring practices? Not only who is actually going to make the final roster, but which one of these rookies could step up? Because if you dial back 3 years ago, we weren't having that conversation about Christian Benford. We got the Fisher like, okay.
Making plays, and all of a sudden the buzz becomes a little bit louder and the whispers become screams. This guy is good. Benford, that training camp, outplaying the first-rounder and Kyer Elam, and the rest is history. Elam getting traded to Dallas, and Benford securing an extension here in the offseason to be the Buffalo Bills quarterback 1. And we'll see who starts opposite him. But you're looking for those plays throughout the course of practice, throughout the course of training camp and the preseason. And who knows? TJ Sanders could very well be one of those guys now under contract, as is the rest of the Buffalo Bills rookie class.
Yeah. So TJ Sanders in, and the idea that that is a position group that maybe there's a surprising cut. You identified Daquan Jones, which at age 33 shouldn't be surprising, but considering that he's been around this team very long, long time, I think that would be noteworthy.
If cut, it would save the Bills $5.5 million on this year's cap. It would spread the dead money over this season and next, which is just under $4 million for each season if you were to cut Daquan Jones. Look, he's a popular player, veteran guy, but pretty expensive for a one-gap nose. And the moves that the Bills have made this offseason kind of telegraph that they could be moving off of a guy like this. But
if Sanders shows up and he's the guy. I mean, could Sanders actually start? Would you feel comfortable Sanders starting? And I can't answer that right now.
Have to see it.
You have to see it.
Have to see it first. I mean, we kind of know what Daquan Jones is at this stage. Last season just a non-factor against the run. So you expect more out of the Bills' defensive line when it comes to stopping the run. Daquan Jones, towards the end of his career here, hanging on with the Buffalo Bills. But somebody will be paying attention to that defensive line. And the numbers game that goes with it was an interesting conversation with Bruce Nolan last hour. How many do they keep? How do you factor in the rookies? How do you factor in the suspensions? Could there be a surprise odd man out beyond Daquan Jones?
Well, like a Dwayne Carter, who he was generating some buzz, but then he gets a wrist injury, and that's the end of him. But for his rookie season, but he's not guaranteed a roster spot. Javon Solomon, same deal. Positive buzz. You got to go out there and earn it. So, the idea that you're not going to have 12 guys on the defensive line. And to go back to the beginning of the conversation, what is one of the things we forgot about? We don't talk about. Yeah, Joey Bosa's on this team.
Yeah.
Joey Bosa. If Joey Bosa all of a sudden shows up at Fisher, that looks a little different there. The upside's there, Danger. But
it's a high upside move. Just stay healthy.
Yeah.
Just stay healthy. I mean, the guy's just been injury plagued. Stay healthy. It's an upside move. I like that Bruce and I kind of park our cars in the same garage here, and that we both believe that if the Bills want to get cheaper at backup quarterback, moving on from Mitch Trubisky would make sense if Trubisky doesn't completely outplay Mike White through the course of the preseason. It's something to monitor as well, with the caveat being, if you're talking about backup quarterback at any point this season, the season's you're probably screwed, depending on the extent of any kind of time off.
The way I look, the 2-3 game window.
If that's what it is.
If that's what it is, that's that you need to get. I'm of the let's go get the 1 seed, chop, no days off here. Sorry, that's a bad the Patriot phrase. Get my point. Let's go.
Ty Dunn was great as well. He had the chance. He's the founder of GoLongTD.com, of course, and had the chance to talk to Dalton Kincaid, Bills tight end, who's kind of been left with the lasting image that we're all left with, a ball slipping through his hands on a 4th and 5 with everything going the Bills' way and a chance to win the game. It's what every athlete wants. Give me the ball when the time is right. Give me the ball with everything to play for. And the Bills falling short on that play. Kincaid sharing the story with Dunn of being inconsolable after the game, in tears, highly emotional. And it's Micah Hyde. It's the veteran who you brought in to be a part of the practice squad. Why would you do that for moments like that? For Micah Hyde to go up to Dalton Kincaid, to be the guy, to be the leader, and to say, you effing own this. Own it. You can't hide it. You have to own it. And how you react to that is everything. And from the sound of it, Kincaid has poured himself into the Bills this offseason. He hasn't left the facility. He's working to get bigger, stronger, faster. And a lot of people believe this could be a breakout year 3 for the Bills tight end.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Bruce's answer was telling. Like, okay, which guy could have the bigger breakout season, year 2 to year 3 for Kincaid, or is it year 1 to year 2 for Coleman? It's just the fact that Kincaid's going to get more opportunity at tight end. And tight end danger is a position where, sure, you get a Jeremy Shockey as a rookie. Hey, look at this. And,
Brock Bowers, you don't have to look back that far.
Okay.
Brock Bowers was spectacular last year. I mean, who wouldn't have liked to have Brock Bowers as their tight end last year?
But how many times did the Raiders try that position before they finally got the guy? Like, the thing is, quite often it's going to take 2-3 years. And for Kincaid, maybe he thought he was doing everything he needed to, wasn't. So that's the veteran you want to take that step, because my gosh, if they get him going, what that could do for this offense, unlocking stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you want a guy that's going to command attention. And last year, I don't know that you had that guy. There wasn't a Diggs last year. Everybody ate, but you don't have anybody really commanding any attention. If somebody starts paying more attention to Dalton Kincaid, maybe that makes Shakir's life a little easier, Keon Coleman's life a little bit easier. We'll keep tabs on that through the course of the season. And Allen's just been great at distributing the ball and making the right reads before the snap as well. So lots to look forward to with the progression of Dalton Kincaid here as he enters year 3, playing with a chip on his shoulder after the way last season ended with the Bills losing to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. Wow. This story just before we jumped on the air today. I mean, last night we learned of the resignation of Lloyd Howell.
I thought, well, he's doing the honorable thing because, it's a conflict of interest if you're doing consulting work with a firm that is actually trying to be an equity partner for some of these NFL team owners. That's you can't do that. So that's what the root of this is, right?
No, we were going to fight that. That's not a big deal. Not as big a deal as liking going to the gentleman's club and expensing it to the union. A report from ESPN claims that an outside investigator was hired by the players' union and received documents showing that Lloyd Howell charged the union for 2 visits to strip clubs, including almost $800 for a car service that took him from the airport to Tootsie Cabaret. Tootsie's Cabaret. Howell picked up at Fort Lauderdale at 10:26, dropped off at Tootsie's. Tootsie's was where the driver was hired to wait for 7 hours outside 7 hours. I bet his union felt strong after 7 hours at Tootsie's Cabaret.
Is there a more like Mad Men 1960s demeaning word than hey Toots?
Hey Toots.
Tootsie's Cabaret.
Hey,
which
get that broad up on the stage.
Tootsie's Cabaret danger, 76,000 square foot venue, and their advertising motto: "We are the world's #1 rated full nude." Wow.
Well, I mean,
where else would you want to do
that's
business?
right. I mean, when in Rome, I suppose, and you're representing the players. I wonder, if it was a solo journey, or if he was meeting some of the players he was representing at Tootsie's Cabaret. I'm sure they can accommodate many. That was just one.
This is the other one, and this is a recall. They call about this in like comedy. Like this is from, remember Lou Williams?
Yeah, the Lou Will Wings.
Lou Will Wings, and this is during COVID, where Lou Will was in the bubble for Atlanta, the Clippers. I don't know. He played for so many teams. He left the bubble to go get his freak on, going to Magic City in Atlanta. Magic City. And here's Magic City ending up back in the news because, I don't know, if you're going to go to one of these clubs, you're going to buy a couple drinks. Maybe you're going to tip one of the girls. Like what? You're running $100, maybe $200.
I know. You got to make it rain.
How accompanied him, a couple of his employees to Magic City for an outing where the expense report was $2,426, charges including cash withdrawals ranging from $200 to $525. They also used 2 VIP rooms. And on the expense report, it says right there, player engagement event to support and grow our union.
Welcome to the player engagement event to support and grow the union. The NFL Players Association is in the house. Diamond City. Lou Will Wings, 25 cents every Tuesday. Don't forget to say hi to Jade on stage 4. Tip your waitresses as well. Who's in the VIP room? Do I see Executive Director Lloyd Howell? No, not Lloyd Howell. Twin brother Jimmy Howell. Jimmy Howell in the VIP champagne room. Say hi to Jade while you're back there.
What a scene. What an absolute scene.
The cash withdrawals were flagged for alerts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That's you can't use the company credit card for Danger, we've all done that. I've done that where, okay, you can't buy alcohol. I'm not going to say who the employee was, but well, can you write that up as appetizers? Sure, we can do that.
I filled out an expense report today. I mean, it's a pretty tedious process. You have to really account for who you were with, what you were talking about.
You can't overtip. There's a certain guideline, right? You got to.
That's
tip,
right.
Yeah.
You can't overextend yourself when it comes to personal meals or lodging or transportation. I mean, there's guidelines in place. Not so much with the NFLPA, or at least now there will be maybe some guidelines for the next executive director. That's the guy that was running the union for the players.
Well,
yikes.
You know what this is? Resign. No, I'm not resigning. Okay, well, you got a conflict. Just fight me. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Easy.
All right, let's get this report from 2 years ago, shall we? Bam!
Yeah.
Explain this at home. You're out.
Yeah.
That's all.
If they want it done, whether you're talking about the NFL or the NFLPA, they're big enough organizations where they can make those moves happen, and they won't even think twice about it.
What are you doing for 7 hours at Tootsie's Cabaret?
Well, I imagine there's a few things he's probably doing for 7 hours at Tootsie's Cabaret, Gene. I mean, it's not hard to imagine what might be happening.
Did he set up office where like he's in the back corner and like he's just
checking emails on his laptop, doing his expense report there at Tootsie's?
You're making the cab driver, the Uber driver, wait 7.5 hours?
You know, a lot of these guys, I think most of the time drivers, like, they're so responsible they won't leave their car. They're going to stay with the car. That, even if you invite them in or if you want them to have a a meal or whatever. They stay with their car. You're hiring them to drive. That's the only thing that they're going to do. So I can respect that he was out there for 7 hours. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it like, dude, 7 hours. You got there at 10:26. You're at Tootsie's for 7 hours. Your driver is waiting for you, and you rack up a $738 bill while you're doing whatever you want to do inside the club. Nobody has stepped up yet. We have no idea who will be the interim executive director or who will actually replace Howell when it's all said and done.
I saw a report they're meeting tonight. Meeting on a Friday night in the summer. That's
So where does the meeting take place? At Tootsie's or at Magic City?
Magic City.
I want to call it Diamond City for some reason. But Magic City, it's either Magic City or Tootsie's. Where's the secret meeting on a Friday night? Where do we get business done? Where can we conduct this? Where can we get a deal? Where can we find leadership? What if it's one of the girls? What if it's one of the dancers? Why not? Cardi B. Let's get Cardi B to be the new executive director of the NFLPA.
Ooh, I like that idea. They'd all snap in line behind
The
her.
players respect her. I think the players can handle the reported aroma that comes with the Brazilian butt lift that's been reported. But, Cardi B. Could we do worse? I don't know. Cardi B or Lloyd Howell. It's close.
How did this and why did this get out, Danger? He resigned last night. We wouldn't have thought anything of it. And then all of a sudden ESPN their investigative reporters have the story here.
He resigned last night because he knew this was coming.
Yeah.
Knew this was coming. And
you're right. So you're buying my theory. I'm not resigning. Oh, yes, you are.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Bam.
All right.
You're out.
He knew it was going to be released. He knew when it was going to be released. And he, listen, this happened last night. He resigned last night after hours, right? This wasn't something that, I don't think it happened while we were on the air yesterday.
No, it didn't. It was
So
okay. This is like an about face.
Right.
Oh.
You're right.
Oh.
And it is Friday, so, won't get as much traction. But I'm not going to forget that Lloyd Howell expensed trips to Tootsie's Cabaret on the Union's tab. Well done, buddy. Was that wrong? I just hear George Costanza. Yeah. Embarrassing. Is that wrong? Was that something that we shouldn't do?
Was that wrong?
Yeah.
Should I not have done that?
No, maybe not.
I gotta plead it.
You can plead ignorance all you want.
All right. So, can I just try to play devil's advocate for a second? Could this be legitimate business? Like, if we're going to go down again, they're a proud advertiser. We love the guys down there at the Tally Ho. I'm sure legitimate business gets done there. This is ESPN in this article went to the former head of the United Mine Workers. Okay, that's a union, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mine dangerous. You really need to kind of make sure your members are okay. Quote, when we're looking over this stuff, that's pretty horrible. That's unbelievable. I don't know how you get around that. It's hard to believe that anyone would be that stupid.
Take a lap, Lloyd Howell. Well done. Unbelievable.
Who's dumber, Lloyd Howell or the AI CEO that keeps popping up in my feed?
From the Coldplay concert. Yeah, not a great look. And give it up to Chris Martin. I'm not the biggest Coldplay fan, but I kind of respect that Martin called him out right away. Knew exactly what he was seeing.
Yeah.
They're bashful or they're having an affair. One of two things is happening up there because she dipped low. She dipped fast. They turned they didn't want to be seen. Woof. Good God. I say it all the time, Gino. It's a crazy world. Someone ought to sell tickets. Hell, I'd buy one. We got to get to a round of shots.
We do. Baseball, Danger. Baseball.
It's back.
It's back. Baseball is back. Thankfully, All-Star break is over. We will set you up here for things that are ahead. Who could be one of the biggest commodities on the trade block? Your Cubbies, my Mets, the Yankees, all in on this guy. Perhaps that is going to be coming up here. And, we're actually going to have Bill Belichick reality TV, sort of.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Well,
it's coming up.
We have a quota to fill, and we'll get to our TMZ portion of the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia as part of a round of shots. That's coming up next on The Fan. And don't forget about Last Call. where you can have the final word in the sports bar. Pull up a stool, 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
The Fan, Rochester. If your mornings are missing that sports kick, let Maggie and Perloff save the day. Listen to 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester weekday mornings. Because who needs more sleep when you can have sports excitement? The Fan, Rochester. Sports Update.
Scotty Scheffler is your leader at the Open. A 64 today, a one-shot lead, 10 under through 2 rounds. That's the best opening 2 rounds he's ever had in a major. We'll have more on the leaderboard coming up here in shots. Buffalo Bills signed their second-round pick today, TJ Sanders. Chris Brown on One Bills Live has more.
TJ Sanders got the deal done with the Bills, 4-year deal, $10.645 million according to reports, and about $10 million of that is guaranteed, which is very similar to the level of guarantees that Keon Coleman got as the top pick in the second round last year.
Veterans report to St. John Fisher University coming up on Tuesday. One final from the majors, the Cubs over the Red Sox 4-1. Seiya Suzuki with a 2-run homer. Wings tonight playing at Lehigh Valley. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The sports leader, 95.7 FM, and streaming online at thefanrochester.com and the Odyssey app. This is The Fan, Rochester.
All right, so you said it in your update, and I know we're going to talk about it here in a round of shots. Welcome back to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. That 10 under that Scheffler has posted through 2 rounds, his best opening 2 rounds in a major. And I also saw a stat that when the world number 1 at the Open carries the lead through 2 rounds, all but once they have won the tournament.
Wow.
Whether it's Faldo, Woods, or now Scheffler. Faldo didn't win it once. He finished second when he led after 2 rounds, and he was the world number 1. Woods was a clean sweep. He won every time he had the lead going into the weekend. And I have to imagine that right now, if you were to say Scheffler of the field, most people would say, yeah, Scheffler. He's winning this thing.
Well, just look at the odds. He's actually minus 190.
Yeah.
64 today. Matt Fitzpatrick, 1 shot back, 2 shots back, Brian Harmon and Haotong Li. And then you got to go back 5 shots after that. So if Scheffler just makes par and continue, I could see him running away with this.
Right.
Running away. Harrison English, one of the leaders yesterday, 5 under. Tony Finau, 5 under. Some other notables, Rory is making it to the weekend, 3 under for the tournament. Mickelson made the cut. Phil Mickelson won over through 2 rounds. Notables not making the cut. They're going back. Colin Morikawa, Brooks Koepka, and a 74 today for our friend Patrick Reed.
Cheater!
Cheater!
All right, so we have 2 more rounds of Open Golf from Portrush, and I don't know. I want suspense. I don't know that we're going to get any.
Talk about a turnaround today, too. One of the better rounds. Well, a 64 was a good round, but a guy at a 65 today, Bryson DeChambeau, 78 yesterday, 65 today, and therefore he picks himself up. He was 7 over yesterday. He's only at 1 over. He made the cut.
Nice.
Good for him. Other things happening, baseball. Baseball's back, Danger.
Yes, it
Second
is.
half. As
It
we
is.
mentioned in the update.
I don't know if you know this or not, but America has been rolled by like an army of steamrollers, Gene. It's been erased like a blackboard. It's been rebuilt. It's been erased again. But baseball has marked the time.
So you say this.
It's it reminds us all of once that was once good and could be again. Baseball.
I get the marking time because I'm going to remember the year I went to the Mets and Kansas City. I'm going to remember, that was 2025.
Of course.
Yeah, we mark time with sports. I don't think it's a baseball thing.
It's not a baseball thing. It's a sports thing.
How could you, after like 4 days off, start a bullpen game tonight? The Yankees are going with a bullpen game tonight in Atlanta.
Wow.
Yeah, Aaron Boone says nobody's going to go, okay. Well, Atlanta's, if you haven't been following, they're not very good this year. 11 games below the 500 mark. Mets hosting the Reds. Tomorrow, David Wright getting his number retired by the Mets.
Nice.
Dodgers home this weekend hosting the Brewers. Phillies at home against the Angels. Detroit and Texas. That's going to be the Sunday night game on ESPN. And from the somebody has to win department, plenty of good seats available for White Sox Pirates this weekend in Pittsburgh.
Short drive if you want to go to what I hear is one of the best ballparks in all of Major League Baseball.
Speaking of the Pirates, there is a pitcher that is a hot commodity of the trade deadline. And no, I'm not talking about Paul Skeens. Can I introduce you to Mitch Keller? He's been dealing. Last 6 starts, he's got an ERA of 1.96, and he's affordable. Next 3 seasons, his contract has a total value of $56 million. But for the cheapo bucks, that's an expense they would like to cut. The Athletic reporting that the Yankees, Mets, and Cubs are amongst the interested teams. Trade deadline coming up on August the 1st.
Mixed feelings about this. I mean, I want to believe that Keller has the stuff and will provide for one of those teams down the stretch, but he's still got that stench of Pittsburgh on him. And
He'll look. Garrett Cole was just fine after he went to Houston.
I get it.
Yeah, it's like you can escape Pittsburgh and have another life.
I know, I get it. I'm just waiting for Skeens. Just get rid of him. What are we waiting for here, Pittsburgh? You're not going to pay the guy clearly, so go ahead, get something of value now while you can.
I just think this should be Keller and Skeens, and you build a halfway respectable lineup, which they don't have outside of Cruz.
And they're going to get rid of Keller.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like Cleveland star Luis Ortiz. I don't know if you're familiar with this story, Danger. He's not going to be coming back anytime soon. He's on indefinite leave. There is an investigation. This is back on June 27th. Now, there is a firm that monitors the betting market for abnormalities. And all these sports books paying somebody independently. And, this all got triggered. Operators in 3 states saw a spike in action on Ortiz's first pitch in the bottom of the 2nd inning against the Mariners, and the top of the 3rd inning against the Cardinals. And in both instances, the sportsbook saw an unusual increase in money wagered that the pitch would be a ball or hit batsman, and both were way out of the strike zone.
He completely missed the strike. I mean, he wasn't even trying to throw a strike.
No, the first one's actually kind of comical.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And if they nail him for this, man, I mean, look, these casinos, these sports books, they're not in the business of losing money. I know you want to get over on them, but they're not in the business of losing money. And if you try to get over on them, they will break your freaking legs. What are we doing?
You are dumb. You are so like everybody involved in this scam. Like nobody would ever know. One pitch here, one pitch there. Hey, look, I'm not gonna open up. Pete Rose, that's a July. Well, he's dead, unfortunately. He's no longer with us. Yeah. But if Rose got banned, this guy should be banned. Like I'm saying, he's on leave. No, he ain't ever coming back.
He ain't coming back. And I love how Major League Baseball, when they announced the suspension, they didn't go into any details. They just said he's not going to be available. He's not available to the team. He's being suspended until further notice. Didn't give any reason why. We know the reason why now, and it's not a good look for baseball. It should be a bigger story than it is. Nobody's really talking about it because, of course, you don't want to put a black mark on one of the 4 major sports leagues in America. But that's a big, big story.
Right. And honestly, it's because who's one of the top categories in sports advertising right now. And this is them policing themselves. They're like, wait a second, what is this? I would just show this at the beginning of spring training, majors, minors, anybody who's under professional contract. This guy thought this was a good idea. You're not going to fool anybody.
How stupid is Ortiz? How stupid are you to think you're going to get away with that?
Speaking of guys who escaped Pittsburgh, the stench of Pittsburgh, he was an all-star for the Pirates last year. And, well, boy, it's a miserable season for Cleveland, too.
Really tough.
Yeah. One note from Chargers camp, Danger, as they are in full tilt. Quarterback Justin Herbert's blue eyes are now red.
Oh.
It wasn't because he was out drinking or anything like that or didn't get any sleep. This
he is the devil incarnate.
No, and it's not some sort of fashion statement either. There are UV protection contact lenses that you can have the color red there that will actually, he says, help him see the field better this season.
And he's going to shoot lasers from his eyes next.
Herbert said he tried a tinted visor in his helmet a few years ago, which many players wear, but he didn't like to have to wipe off the sweat of the visor. Herbert admitting that he's still got to check with the league to make sure that these red contact lenses are legal.
I know, especially when he's in a game and they shoot lasers out of his eyes and take out DBs without him even knowing. He just glares at them. Lasers pop out. DBs go down. I mean, he's Cyclops all of a sudden.
Where is the photo of this, though? I'm reading this story. You would think, okay, somebody get a shot of Justin Herbert with red eyes. Or maybe you don't actually notice that.
I don't know that I mean, if they are indeed red, I don't know that I want to see a picture. That's kind of creepy. I don't know, like Justin Herbert looking like he's possessed and straight out of a horror movie casting call, versus Justin Herbert just out there flinging it and having fun. I'll take the latter on that one.
Okay, you like the joke. It's fast food here in the sports.
It's
bar.
our TMZ portion.
Yeah. And actually, I think it's legit news when we get, hey, here's a sports documentary or whatever.
Yeah,
this is programming you're gonna be getting, and well, after all, we're going to have some Bill Belichick, North Carolina content coming up.
Okay.
After a deal fell through, you may remember this story with HBO for Hard Knocks, doing kind of a college version of North Carolina. Well, that fell through. Front Office Sports Today reporting there's going to be a docuseries on UNC football, and it's going to be on Hulu.
Okay.
Now, the report doesn't mention when this is going to drop, if they've even started filming it, but it's happening. According to The Athletic, though, going back here to the HBO part, that deal fell through because of the demands from one Jordan Hudson. In addition to creative control, Hudson wanted a piece of the profits.
Yeah, of course she did. Of course she did. She's a problem, man. That one is getting after it. She's a problem.
The modern-day Lolita, right? Just
It's amazing. I can't be mad at it. I really can't. I'm like watching it, hearing about it, and I'm like, hey, look, good for you, I guess. Go get it. But, man, just from the interview on Sunday morning, the CBS Sunday Morning interview where she's making demands there, the demands of wanting a piece of Hard Knocks from HBO. Come on.
Talk about summertime sports radio topics that are retired or should be retired. Like, hey, LeBron and MJ, and we mentioned the Pete Rose thing. This one's retired now. There's no question. Well, who was more important for the Patriots dynasty? It was Tom Brady. Closed.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I've always pushed back against the Bill Belichick is the best coach of all time conversation. Yeah, look, what he did for all those years in New England is impressive, of course, but he did it with the greatest quarterback of all time. And I think we can say that now. It wasn't Joe Montana, it wasn't Peyton Manning, it was Tom Brady. It was always Tom Brady. And I still put Bill Walsh up there as number one for me as far as greatest coach of all time. I think there was nobody that influenced the game more than Bill Walsh, and his coaching tree is just ridiculous as that coaching tree is, that still impacts the game today, all these generations later.
Well, he invented literally a style of offense.
Yeah, the West Coast offense that still to this day is implemented in various mutations from guys that have been passed down, the offense that's been passed down from father to son into the next generation. It's been remarkable to watch throughout the course of our lifetime. That, to me, is more impactful than what Bill Belichick did with the greatest quarterback of all time, at his disposal. So I can't wait to see what North Carolina is with Belichick on the sideline. What does it look like? When that first loss happens, what does it look like? When do we get the report? When do we get the Wickersham report? When do we get the report that dishes it all out? The timing is everything, and I think they're waiting for a losing streak or maybe the first loss or a bad loss.
You say Wickersham, but Pablo Torre.
Pablo can come out with something.
Yeah, he could. So there's got to be a race to this. If I had the story, I'm not waiting for maximum, the timing to be perfect. I want it out there as soon as the lawyers say go.
Yeah. We're going to get to the last call next. Final chance for you to get your word in to the sports bar at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
Chaser, you're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
As we enter the final weekend of the calendar year without Buffalo Bills football. Well, I mean, take the bye week, I suppose. But, man, training camp starts on Wednesday, and we're excited to be a part of it here at the Fan Rochester, as we are every year. We'll see you at St. John Fisher University for those of you lucky enough to grab those free ducats to see the Buffalo Bills practicing for the course of the next few weeks.
You know what was one week? Well, a lot of things were 1 year ago this week. This was the story we were all talking about. The Jeremy Fowler, unnamed source, NFL executive rips Josh Allen as overrated.
Yeah.
One of the more overrated players in the NFL. Immense talent, but he makes a lot of mistakes. He's underdeveloped at winning the line of scrimmage, tends to lock in on targets, more of a thrower than a passer, forces throws into traffic.
Given history and how it all played out, Brandon Beane said all of those things about his quarterback to Jeremy Fowler.
He leaves you wanting more. But if you're picking a guy that want to lead your team, he's going to be second or third for most people. The ceiling is really high, and I don't have the feel that the reason the Buffalo Bills, and I don't feel he was the reason the Bills didn't finish. Okay. So,
Brandon Beane, quote from Brandon Beane. Brandon Beane feeding Jeremy Fowler a little motivation for his quarterback, who then goes out and has an MVP season. It makes too much sense. There can't be an executive in the NFL that's that brain dead. It has to be strategic. It has to be Brandon Beane who said those things about Josh Allen.
If it's an AFC executive, why would you want to light a fire under Buffalo? Who would have...
Well, my question is, who's doing it now? I mean, everything is so great. I mean, last year at this time, we were wondering if the Bills were even going to win the division. Well, Aaron Rodgers is coming back. The Jets are improved. The Dolphins are improved. Some people had the Bills finishing third. I didn't know that they were going to make the playoffs. Who's doing it this year? Who's going to step up and give the Bills a chip? Something that they can play with, something they can hold on to all season long to fuel them.
That's where, when I was out in Kansas City, they make up stuff. Like perceived chips, or there's literally there is a feed that if somebody will, if you say anything negative about the Chiefs, like we should all be like bowing.
All right, so somebody needs to call Josh Allen fat. Yeah, he's got married and got fat. He's playing too much golf, eating too much ice cream. He's not in shape, not ready to go. Something. We need a chip. We need some bulletin board material. You had it last year, and look what happened. Turns in an MVP performance. Who's going to be it? Who's going to be the reporter, the insider that gives the Bills the bulletin board material they need for the 2025 season?
The theme of the show, like we forget about these storylines. Yeah. That was the storyline entering camp last year. Diggs #1, and somebody said Josh Allen is so overrated.
Yeah, okay. Idiots. We had a great show today. Lots of fun with Ty Dunn from GoLongTD.com and his conversation with Bills tight end Dalton Kincaid on the site that you can check out. Kincaid talking about playing with a chip on his shoulder. He's been pouring himself into the Buffalo Bills through this offseason, looking to see big things from him in year 3. And if you missed that conversation with Ty Dunn, you can find it wherever you get your podcasts, as well as our conversation last hour with Bruce Nolan, host of the Bruce Exclusive podcast. The Bills' defensive line is an interesting numbers game when you factor in the rookies, second-year players, the free agents that are going to be suspended, PUP list, underperformers. What's it all going to look like when we get to week 1? Good conversation with Bruce. Again, you can find those 2 conversations wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the free-to-download Odyssey app.
Monday on the show, Rochester Red Wings general manager Dan Mason, Team Hall of Famer Dan Mason will be joining us.
Got to know about the voting process, Mace. Tell me about the voting process.
The Yankees top affiliate coming to town next week.
All right, good stuff. Dan Mason joining us in studio Monday as we get closer and closer to Buffalo Bills training camp that starts Wednesday at St. John Fisher University. Hope you enjoy your weekend. It's going to be a good one. We're back on Monday at 3. JR Sport Brief next on The Fan.
You're listening to The Sports Bar